can all rise to do the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to remember the services and sacrifices of the armed service members who protect our nation and the first responders who protect our neighborhoods. Clerk, please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Here.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Here.
Councilmember Jedinak?
Here.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Here.
Councilmember Smith?
Here.
Councilmember Sackett?
Here.
Councilmember Jackson?
Here.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Here.
President Kelly?
Here. This meeting was advertised in the Daily Record and the Star Ledger, the official newspapers for the Township of Rockaway, on March 30th, 2019. Notice was posted on the official bulletin boards of Rockaway Township. 6 is the designation of Sergeant of Arms and the Township Code of Decorum. Township Code 2-5.15 Decorum. While the council is in session, the members shall preserve order and decorum. The council president, at his or her discretion, shall direct the chief of police or such other person in the police department as he may designate to be the sergeant of arms at the council meeting. The sergeant at arms shall employ reasonable means to maintain the proper order and decorum consistent with accepted standards. I see in the back Sergeant Delaasco. Are you going to be the sergeant at arms tonight? Yes. Thank you, sir. With that, we're going to go into discussion of the proposed 2019 budget. I only see one member in the audience other than Mr. Dio on the Financial Review Board. If anybody is going to stay, I can open it to the public now if you wish to say something, or if you'd rather just wait until afterwards. Mrs. Quinn, is there anything? No? Mr. Dio? Nothing at all? Okay. Not right now. Okay. I apologize for being 5-10 minutes late. But we'll go through it. Hopefully this will be painless. We can move forward. We can get our staff back home. I'm saying that on the record, Mr. Dyer, for you, and Mrs. Palmieri, and lead us to a Friday and then hopefully a great weekend to come. So let's open up for discussion. Do you want to bring the water?
Okay.
Council President, if I remember correctly, at the last meeting, Councilmember Friedlander had some items under budget he wanted to talk about.
Councilman Friedlander, did you want to some of the areas that you were questioning or you talked about of? Well, I think what we have tonight is that we've had a couple of meetings that we took place with the department heads that were available to meet with us on those days, and then unfortunately, due to the notice requirements that we have now, it was tough to get the timing of that to get our department heads and have the room available and so forth and so on. So I don't know if there's some questions that you have on some specific lines that you didn't get any answers to, or maybe you didn't have an opportunity to ask those questions. Maybe Mrs. Palmieri or Mr. Dyer could help assist that right now. Or if there were some things that you had in the budget that you wanted to adjust, ups or downs.
Yeah, we discussed some of them, but we really didn't actually do anything with them.
No, that's what tonight is, because we're going to introduce, we're still within the time limits to be compliant, right, Mrs. Palmieri, with the introduction of the budget for the 9th of April?
April 9th is when
Yeah.
we're scheduled to introduce.
Yeah, and we're still compliant with that
We're still
time frame.
compliant with that, yeah.
Yeah. So since this is the last opportunity to meet for budget discussions and actions before the introduction, because they have to prepare the budget to introduce, and we're trying to get that going. So How do you want to go? You want to bring some of the items that you had that were discussed? Yeah, go ahead. You have a page or,
Yeah, it's, I believe we were discussing, was that the vehicle?
Mr. Freelander, your microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was.
I'm good now. Well, one of the things that we discussed, we were talking vehicles. Okay.
you're talking about if I remember correctly, we had that one Durango that was truck number 412.
Right, that they want to
Construction
re-outfitted?
Oh, no,
No,
that was in
not that
Capital. That was in the DPW with the 6500 series
Right.
truck.
One, they were gonna get, they wanted two vehicles. One was that van to go around and place the signs and what have you. And then they wanted to change another one, nothing mechanical, just refigure with the lift and everything else for $55,000. Right,
Yeah.
refurbish.
Yeah, they want to add like.
Refurbish a truck that's from 2001. And it doesn't make sense because everything inside is gonna go,
Right.
you know? You could
I think
pretty
they
up the
projected
outside.
10 years potentially on there, and then to purchase a new vehicle that would be equipped with what they wanted was 130,000.
Right,
And I think your justification was if it was going to be like another 70,000 to buy a brand new truck rather than 55 or 60,000 to
Which-
refurbish it for a short period of lifespan.
and the lifespan, you'll never get that out of it. I mean,
And-
being in 2001, it's already 18 years old.
And in all fairness, I know I can speak for myself, but not for Mr. Sackett and Mr. Palumbo. The Vehicle Review Committee, I've never received anything from any department about anything with vehicle related, especially this particular one that you have in question.
Can you point us to the page?
That would be probably.
Page 213. Actually, I was going to bring that up as well.
Did you,
I had that in my notes.
you know what, then you can follow
Yeah.
Mr. Freelander's lead on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
page 213, refurbished 6500 GMC recycling vehicle. Yeah, I'd like a, make a motion.
So that's the
to-
last line under the Public Works section on page 213?
Right,
For-
correct.
For anyone following along in the public or on Facebook?
Yeah, I make.
Right,
to
that's
make
the
a
last
motion
one,
to
because I had
bring
the
that
one-
to zero.
I had the line.
Yeah, bring that to
Mark.
zero.
Yeah.
You wanted to, did you any discussion? I mean, we had some similar discussion on it with Mr. Knopf that was here. So did you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to zero that out, 55,000 down to zero.
Right,
I'll
So,
second it.
second.
Mrs. Smith, were you second or was Mr. Freelander?
Well, I second it, but I don't know. I didn't hear.
Okay.
Okay, I started the discussion.
She took your thunder away.
There's no thunder.
I'm sorry, he can have it back.
There's no thunder. Just don't do
I
it
just
again.
jumped it. I won't.
Hey, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
So, it's just that they're getting a vehicle, you already have one vehicle for the year at 65,000, if you move up.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, that vehicle was a replaced truck 605
Right.
that they tried to make a truck out of it, and it created more problems and more wasted money.
and it's exactly what they would be doing with the one on the bottom that we just eliminated. I'd sooner address it next year for a new vehicle with a nice space, and it'll last a lot longer.
Mrs. Palmer, so are you clear to what Mr.
Yes,
Freelander and
We're
Mr. Sack?
eliminating the $55,000 vehicle for
Okay.
2019. You're not proposing to move it into a future year.
It's not removing the vehicle, it's removing the refurbishment.
It's removing the refurb,
Yeah.
$55,000 appropriation.
Yes.
Any discussion? Everybody good? Clerk, can you do the roll on that?
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander,
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. Got 9 yeses, 0 nos, right?
Yep.
Motion carries. Since you're on a roll, Mr. Freelander, is there anything else that you want to, did you want to jump to that other vehicle that you were talking about?
Which one? You talking about the repairs? Well, the other vehicle.
Microphone.
Oh, the signs. Something with the signs?
Signs.
The vehicle that takes care of the signage?
Yeah, that's the other one that they were requesting. So that's what I said, that's the one at 65,000.
That is correct.
Right,
Okay.
that's the same page, it's up a little further
Yep, I
on that
see it.
line.
Yep.
You wanted to remove that as well?
No,
Okay.
Okay.
that's why I said, leave them with the one vehicle this year, eliminate the refurb for the second vehicle, and then down the road, then we address a new vehicle that'll last a lot longer.
Yeah, this is basically replacing the truck 605 that got ruined.
Yeah.
So, and it would stop the sign department there from working out of I think an old van from,
Yeah, and it's not working.
yeah, from
Not
animal
working right.
control. Was there anything else, Mr. Freelander?
Good on that. Forgot the other thing. I'll come back to it when I find it again. I'm sure somebody will.
Which one are you looking for?
Well, we were talking about, I mean, there was, we were talking engineering,
Yeah, we had construction for the Durango.
construction, but not vehicles. I mean, we're talking the file cabinet, we had something small, the file cabinets.
Okay.
But everybody was talking about that for like 15, 20 minutes. So,
You want to take that line out?
yes.
Okay, hold on one second.
So engineering starts on page 30, according to the table of contents we have at the beginning of the binder, and construction is under engineering.
31, 36. Equipment and supplies.
30? It starts on 30, so
Yeah. But the list is,
31?
I don't see it. Materials.
Sub-account 58.
058, is that it?
Sub-account
058.
58.
058?
30
Page 31,
Yeah.
sub-account 58.
Yeah,
31?
yeah, 32. Actually, it's on 32 also.
Yeah, that's the.
Sub-account
explanation.
58.
That's the detail for it.
Yeah, so
Thank
it's
you.
on the 58. Equipment and supplies.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. You know that?
Oh, 58, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, hit the mic on.
Yeah, it's on.
Go ahead, Mr. Freelander.
Okay, the recommended amount was 2250. I would make a recommendation to go back to the 1150. I believe the cabinets were $1,000.
A second there.
Do you mean 1150 or 1250?
1150.
It's
1150.
1140.99, so he's rounding.
Yeah,
up.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, 1150, back to what they spent, that's what I meant.
Isn't that 1100 then, not 1000?
No, it's 1100, yeah,
It's 1149.
but it's 1140.99, so I'm just rounding to 1150.
Okay, 1,150.
Yeah.
Line 058. Reducing 2250 to 1150. Is that accurate, Mr. Freelander?
That's correct.
Okay.
Cutting $1,100.
Do I have a second on that?
Yeah, I already said John.
You did? I'm sorry, John. Any discussion? Seeing none? Clerk, please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander,
Yes,
Councilmember Jededick,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes,
Councilmember Sackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. I got 9 yeses, 0 nos, motion carries. You're on a roll, Mr. Freelander. Keep going.
How about I pass it for now?
Did you want to go to the vehicle that we were talking about?
Oh, for the repairs, that was the, which one was that again?
I am going to
So
go
many.
into, I think it was, no, it wasn't capital. I thought it would have been, to be honest with you. It's for the vehicle that there was a question on. It was a two,
Which one?
and it was for construction, engineering. 31?
More time flipping through things.
I forgot which one I wrote down. You don't remember which,
Yeah,
Instructions 42,
42?
the first page on
Yeah.
paragraph 3.
Yeah,
Looks like 42.
43 is where you'll see it. I think, oh yeah, it looks like line item 051.
You got that, Mr. Freelander? Page 43, line 051. And that was the one that expressed it just needed brakes and shocks.
Right. Mm-hmm. The explanation, yeah.
That's where I have all my notes on that page. Brakes, shocks, muffler.
It was my first shocks, and then, as I had indicated, I went and did two estimates for parts only, and one was just over $570, and the other one was just under $620. And that was rotors, brakes, front, rear shocks, and the muffler.
And that they could do with the building.
The labor they can outside of the parts, yeah.
And the vehicle only had, I had one earmark, 90, at this.
Yes.
93,000.
Yeah, it was under 100, yeah.
It was under 100, so, you know what?
Did you want to remove that? Okay. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
John, you're slow.
That's not, I don't care. I don't care.
I have a motion from Mr. Freelander. I have a second from Vice President Abrahamson. And that is to remove
35,000.
to zero?
Can I ask a question on that?
Of course, go ahead.
Do we have any discussion on
Go
this?
ahead.
I just, Mrs. Palmieri, Lisa, I'm just curious, since the other one was on capital, how come this one isn't?
Because construction needs to support the fees that we charge, so that we want to keep the appropriations in their operating budget to offset those fees.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? No? Clerk, please, the roll.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak,
Why are we
Yes.
concurrent?
Councilmember Palumbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. I have 9 yeses, 0 nos, motion carries.
I have one more question.
I'm sorry?
I have a question about something else on this page.
Go ahead.
This number
May-
092.
I'm sorry.
Use your microphone, please.
Okay. I'm sorry, I did have one more question on this page. 092, the medical insurance, why is that a separate line item
Exactly the same reason.
Yeah.
We're trying to put all the expenses that are tied to this budget.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to clear up, because I did highlight it, and I had that question,
It's
so,
to justify the fees that we charge.
Okay.
Rather than, raising taxes, we have the fees that we can charge
for these
for
permits.
these permits.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Freelander?
I'm good.
You good? Mr.
Good.
Sackett?
Took care of the vehicles.
Page 6.
Page 6.
Sub-account 27.
Legal services?
Yeah. The requested was 40. They recommended 50. I'd like to cut that back to the requested of 40.
Have a second? I'll
I'll
second that.
second.
Or, I'm sorry, Mr. Palumbo? Yes. I'll let Mr. Palumbo second that.
Account number.
Just so I have it correct here, Mr. Sackett, we're going to reduce the recommended of 2019 from administration 50 down to 40, which is a deduction of 10K.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I clarify, are we in human resources?
Yes.
Page?
Yes,
Yes.
page 6.
Tab 1.
Any other question?
Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, clerk, please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak,
Yes.
Councilmember Colombo,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes,
Councilmember Sackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes, that's 9 yeses, 0 noes, motion carries. Good catch, Mr. Sackett. Is there anything else that you want to go into?
Yeah, I got a few.
Go ahead.
Page 11.
I have one on page 6, too.
Was there anything that anybody wanted to take up?
I have page 6 still. Okay, yeah, go ahead, whatever.
Well,
well,
go ahead.
Go ahead, I can go back to 6.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sackett. Page 11, everybody.
Okay.
Just a clarification under the proposed, 2019 proposed municipal clerk wage of $75,000. If I remember correctly, the current wage is $70,000. With a 2% increase, you'd be at $71,400. So I'm just wondering why there's an extra $3,600 in there above the 2%. I didn't see any clarification anywhere.
Can I answer that?
Go ahead.
We adopted Resolution 18-129. Should the clerk pass the exam within a certain time frame, she would be increased to 75,000. I don't know if that time frame has been met, but that was what the resolution that was passed.
Correct.
Mrs. Seeger, our business administrator, referenced that resolution when I asked that question when we got the budget books. I think it was the first budget meeting, and she had referenced that resolution as to why that number is
Yeah, I'm reading the resolution now. It says the clerk's certificate prior to January 1, 2019, her salary would be increased to 75. I put it in the budget should that date change.
Does that answer your question?
But shouldn't the proposed say 71.4 and then the 5 be somewhere else?
No,
No? Okay. No, I'm
I
just
think
saying.
it can be presented multiple different ways.
Yeah.
The administration, this is how they prepared it, so this is how they presented it to us, but they could present it, you'll see other lines, maybe not this year, but if you look at previous years, where there are salary provisions on separate lines from the salaried positions themselves.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm
Presented-
seeing.
It's presented multiple different ways, but this, only the administration can answer why they presented it that way, so.
Okay.
I think the other prior, the deputy had received an increase, but that wasn't something that was budgeted in there. It
Okay.
was just something that the mayor did
Okay.
of a $5,000 increase.
I'd just like to see it separately, you know?
The administration,
Yeah. Yeah. Because then at least we know the wage would be 71.4, and then certain requirements were met, then we could have the 5, that way they, like, a bonus or whatever it is, however.
No, I definitely agree, and there's other line items and other salaries also that have jumped considerably that don't have an explanation underneath them, and they're not separated.
Oh,
So,
I agree.
yeah.
I agree, it should be separate.
Council President, and we've made, if you recall last year's process, we made requests to have changes be made to the presentation. I don't know if you remember some of those conversations. None of those presentation changes got made for this year's budget, so maybe next year's budget, some of those changes will get incorporated. But if I may, while we're on this page,
If we were real quick, is there any other questions like that, wage related, where it's not in there that you?
I'll just,
Or is this the only one that you're?
there was others.
Okay.
But, just.
We'll just go through
leave
that.
Yeah, he can go to him.
Okay.
thank you. Yeah, since we're on this page, I was just going to look at the deputy municipal clerk. I believe we have a vacancy in that position. Therefore, we shouldn't be budgeting a raise for a vacant position.
True.
But however, we need to hire someone to fill that vacancy. So I would like to propose that the salary for the deputy municipal clerk position be decreased to the 2018 level.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question before
You know what, we do have a second on that, so yeah, go ahead, it's for discussion.
Before,
Discussion.
okay. If you're picking there is a range, in other words, you're advertising for a deputy clerk. Okay, you're putting in an amount now. What is the range? Because doesn't that handcuff you, let's say,
So,
the range and the required person that you hire happens to be offered more than what you put in the budget
I don't think
for
you can do
this.
So,
You just don't offer more than you put in the budget.
so that's.
Well, you could be, yeah, but there is a range. There's always been a range with the
That's-
So
hires.
can I answer that? So the answer is, you're right, there is a range, but the range is generally capped by the salary appropriation in the budget. No one, I think we've had this conversation with Mrs. Seeger when she's been here, no one should ever be offered a salary above the budgeted amount. And if someone were offered a position and they wanted more than that, then it would have to come back, there'd have to be a budget discussion to make sure that there are funds for that.
And I agree with that,
Yeah,
but
in
what I'm
fact,
saying,
there was an error made in this very position a couple years back. I think we discussed it in last year's budget process, actually. So there was an error made in what was offered and what was actually budgeted. It wasn't caught till after the position was filled. But, I think that was the context within which we had that conversation.
The individual
Right.
said that he
Typic-
knew, but
typ-
didn't want to say anything.
Typically, the response we received from Mrs. Seeger, the business administrator, was that typically no one is offered a salary higher than what is budgeted in the budget book.
oh, I agree with that. But you could also put in the budget a low figure that technically is too low for that position.
Right, and recall also that we have to, once this budget is completed, we've introduced it and adopted it, we pass salary ordinances. And those salary ordinances are generally set, Mrs. Palmieri can correct me on this, the salary ordinances are generally set at or above the budgeted amounts.
I can tell you the proposed salary that we had presented, that was introduced a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. The range for deputy municipal clerk
That's what,
was 35,000 to 68,000. So that 45 and the 51 are both within the range.
But we can only pay what is budgeted.
Well, we can't overexpend the budget.
Correct. Is that what you were trying to ask?
well, that's what I was saying. Now, the range is 45
The range is 30, well, as proposed.
as proposed.
We're going to reintroduce and adopt because we voted down the original introduction, if you
Right.
recall. So the range that was proposed, assuming it stays the way we originally presented it, for deputy municipal clerk was 35,000 to 68,000.
So you're proposing, that's what I said, the 45.7. So that could handcuff you as far as a quality person that they feel, let's say, is getting 51.
Yeah, so, but here's the issue. We have a vacancy, right?
So it really doesn't matter if you put in 51 or 45, you're not paying, it's prorated anyway, you're not paying.
Well,
You know.
we're paying an annual salary rate of this amount. You're right, if you start in February, March, or April, you're only getting that however many months are left in the year, but at that annualized rate. Subsequent salaries for future years are based on that rate. But when we have vacancies, right, we have somebody presumably starting not at the end of their career, mid of their career, but closer to the beginning of their career, depending on what the experience is. And it's an opportunity for us to find savings on behalf of the taxpayers by
without a doubt.
lowering that. So here we have proposed a raise for a vacant position, right? I think we all agree that we're not going to,
Not gonna have somebody
Okay, but
come in at
we're
the
not-
highest level of somebody going out.
right.
Oh, no,
Because
but I don't want to be, and I agree,
Well,
we're not
17 was
looking for.
41,000.
What?
2017 was 41,000.
Right,
2018 is 45,700.
right. And
So we're going at 45,788.
The motion was to decrease it to the 2018 level so that there are some savings for the taxpayers, but there's room to find quality candidates.
Can I just ask you something, Manny? Are you saying it's too low? Is that what I'm hearing you
Well,
say?
no, I think it is, because you're talking, the original discussion, even if the original discussion was 61, and you feel that's too high, cutting it 16,000, I don't know, I think,
Have you done a comparison to the other deputy clerks throughout the municipalities?
I have.
Yeah, I was
Where are
just
they
gonna say-
roughly?
For a town of this size, we actually have one of the lowest deputy clerk salaries in the county.
yes.
And that was what I was just going to say. Can we ask the department head of that department what she thinks?
About
50, 55?
50 to 55.
50 to 55, so the 51,918, I guess would be.
Would be right there. And 52, 51, 52, and you're still $8,000 lower than the original ceiling that we had.
But that's not a real ceiling,
and
it's
that's
not
the top.
budgetary.
That's the top, you know?
But that quote ceiling you're referring to is simply the ordinance, right? That has nothing to do with the budget. We've never,
No,
to my
man.
knowledge, we've never paid a person in that position anywhere near that 61 cap that we just heard about. And Council President, I believe in the black book in front of you, in the council reference guide, I think we have all the salary ordinances that are current, that have been previously passed. I think they're in there.
Well, Mrs. Palmer just gave us a raise.
She was giving us the number that was proposed following this budget, but not what the current one actually is. So that's probably what we should consult.
You're asking me what the current deputy clerk, before she
Range.
resigned, made?
What the
Range?
current ordinance is, not the proposed ordinance.
The 2017 ordinance. Yes?
If we did one in 17, I don't recall.
We did. I have it, just give me a minute.
What?
It's right here.
Well, you're hiring somebody, it's not great.
And this is, by the way, we never had a deputy municipal clerk in the salary ordinance prior to 2017.
Right.
This is the first year, because I actually looked at that myself. And we have it from 0 to maximum of 65,000.
The salary ordinance for 2017, deputy municipal clerk, 65,000.
Was the maximum, right?
Yes. That's the maximum.
So,
Well, then,
Why don't we do the 2% raise on top of the 45,788?
For a
So-
vacant
so-
position?
Right,
I don't know.
You don't usually give a raise to somebody who's not here.
yeah, that's the issue. We have a vacancy.
You bring it down
When we
below.
have vacancies.
6,000 is too much, I agree.
When we
well, then
have,
go
when
split the middle, right down the middle.
when we
48.5.
when we
We
have
have a motion already
vacancies,
on the floor to
I know.
reduce it down to the
I
45.
know, we'll make it.
when we have vacancies, it's an opportunity to have savings, right? So,
Right.
Is it a position that could be filled part-time?
can I just ask one question? It might be stupid, but I just want to
Nothing
ask it.
stupid.
So if we stick to one, Mrs. Palmieri can probably answer this,
Yes.
one number on the budget.
Stick to one.
We can't go to the range if we had someone that had a lot of, no.
Can't give them what you don't have.
We can't
Yeah, okay.
overexpend the budget, but
Okay.
the range in the salary, as I said, proposed, both numbers fit in the range.
Okay. Okay, I get it.
But typically, our salary ordinances have tracked the budget. For whatever reason, this one's pretty far off from the actual budget amounts we've had.
Christina, what did you say you found out with your research is the average salary for a town this size to start here as a deputy clerk?
Between 50 to 55 without certification.
And size was based on square miles or population?
Population,
And what does Dover's deputy clerk make?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
So-
Population of 22,000. And the clerk there only makes what, 65?
Yeah.
So we have a clerk in Dover that makes 65.
All right,
Well,
what's
we have the motion that
what
we
is
have
Yeah.
to vote on.
The motion is to
Drop it
reduce
back
it down
to
to 2018
Okay.
to levels. And we have a second. Who seconded?
I know, you never know.
Mr. Sackett?
Mr. Sackett, you second the motion? Are we done with discussion?
I'm not comfortable.
So we're going to 2018 level. To 2018 would be 45,788.
Setting it
So
for the
roughly
salary.
46,000.
Then you get them for 40. You keep going.
Go ahead, Mr. Plummer.
Mrs. Palmieri, what if it's advertised and we can't get someone at that salary range? What happens?
If you cut it down to 45,788, we
Yeah.
advertise, we can't find someone who will accept that number.
Right, that's the question.
Nothing.
I don't know what you would do.
Okay, I'm just, all right.
And if I may add something to that, because we're not including this, that deputy clerk could also have an additional duty. That would be maybe a registrar or a deputy registrar that would actually assist and add more money to them while holding that position.
The registrar currently is at $1,500. And then we have 2 deputies for $500 each.
So they could also hold an additional title to get additional monies. Any other questions, Mr. Chairman?
Just, no, it's just in the hiring, it's a different mindset in the hiring scheme. And I understand, but I don't want to cut us short with people.
Quality.
No, I
Quality,
understand that.
yeah.
I understand that.
And that's what I'm looking at. You don't have anybody, so whatever number is there, you're not paying anybody now.
We don't have an
But I
ordinance
want-
we don't have an
Right.
ordinance for deputy municipal clerk.
But if you see the range is in the 60s, and you're still 10,000
But you're
below
hitting the
that.
high mark rather than the low mark, because the low mark range is 35.
Yeah.
Have
Well,
you considered hiring someone with a certificate, though? Because then you're really then you're really going to be short. If you were to find a deputy
Oh, that
with a
was certified?
certificate,
Oh, yeah. They would never take it.
just something to think about.
Right,
Have
but
we
the
have
problem-
we advertised for this position yet?
That's up, I don't know.
No.
Oh, no, it's not. Administration unfortunately has taken over that. They don't have it's odd that the deputy municipal clerk works for the clerk, and our administration has taken that ability for the clerk and the legislative body to have any involvement or even notice that position. So we have an election coming up, and we have a clerk that's handling 25,000 residents in a 48 square mile town by herself. And our administration has confidential secretary, another secretary, and an assistant BA. So,
Excuse me, Christina, have you requested a new hire?
yes, I was CC'd on it. All right, we have a motion on the floor here. Was there any more discussions related to this particular thing? So I have a motion made by Jeniak, I have a second by Sackett. Clerk, can you please do the roll?
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes, I got 9 yeses, 0 noes, motion carries. Mr. Dyer,
Yes, sir.
can you give us an update on the status with the notice going out for that position, the vacancy we have now?
I
And
believe-
maybe not now, it's not fair to ask for you that now.
Tomorrow morning, absolutely.
Great, I appreciate that.
I agree.
I mean, it's a dire situation, right? Sorry, buddy.
No, absolutely.
Mm.
Dire straits.
Try the veal, I'll be here all week.
I'll reach out to you in the morning.
Thank you very much, and if you could CC the clerk on that too as well,
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
I think Councilmember Smith was next.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Smith?
Yeah, on page 6, the professional consulting fees. We only spent,
Wait.
line item,
6, yeah.
page 6, item 028. We only spent 15 or 16,000 rounded off on the professional consulting fees. They're asking for 46.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I would recommend to reduce it by 6,000 to 40.
Yeah, they went in details at the budget meeting about why they need, I just forget, to be
It's on the
honest
next
with
page.
you. No, I know, they went over more.
That's where I made
know.
note of it. On page 7, it gives you the justifications.
Right, and we're not, the township, as of the most recent contract, is no longer doing performance appraisals, and that was one of the items for the HR management software, right?
So you want to cut it to 40, you said, from 46? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
make your motion.
yeah, if you,
Well, you're making a motion now.
there's no second yet.
Yeah,
Oh,
There's no second yet.
So, you want me to make the motion now? I thought I did.
You did.
No, you did make a
No,
motion.
no one seconded.
Oh, okay, I make a motion to cut it by 6,000 to 40,000, line 028.
I'll second it.
40,000 to what?
It's from 46 to 40.
Discussion, Council President?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so if you look at the detail on page 7, there's a performance evaluation service, human resource management software. I think we have more room to cut there.
My question would be, why would we budget 40,000 for a service that we don't use anymore to evaluate personnel?
I think
The
that's,
software is primarily,
The online human resource management software is not, that's the question you're asking about that one. The performance evaluation, I can see, that's the 2,000. But the 40,000 is a new request for human resource software, not an old one. It's a new request.
right, but the second item, performance evaluations are not being,
Correct,
we're not using that anymore.
yes.
And we haven't actually been presented any details about that new request for the HR management software. We have a history, we have a history in this town of spending a lot of money on big systems that never ultimately get implemented or used. And I think that happens especially when there's no discussion or presentation of what these things are in advance of authorizing their acquisition.
what is it actually for, do you know?
The software?
Yeah.
Just by the description, I'm assuming it has a way of tracking human resource information, hire dates, termination dates, certificates,
Yeah.
Basic human resource information. I don't know specifics other than that.
Okay.
Have you received a presentation on that?
No, but I wouldn't have. It's in the
Mr. Dyer?
administration.
I have not, no.
Okay, so I would actually like to amend the motion that's on the floor to decrease this line to 16,000
For what was expended in 2000 and roughly?
to match, to match previous expenditures.
where am I now? 028, 028,
Yeah, because we,
You want to increase the
No,
expended?
no.
No, decrease it to 16,000.
So if you look at the previous
I
year's
see it, yeah.
expenditure, so last year, 47,000 was budgeted for this line,
Mhm.
and only just under 16,000 was spent.
Right,
Here we
right.
have another year, we're budgeting 46,000.
Right.
So we're budgeting these big ticket items, but not actually using that money for their intended purpose, right?
I see it. Yeah. I'll second
And-
that motion.
Subsidiary motion to.
Did you understand that, Mrs. Smith?
Yes, and I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to, you had some thunder there. and
No,
then,
no, that's fine. I was just-
No, I mean, when you compare to what was budgeted and what was used, I have to agree. So,
Okay, so we're going to move to, we got to get a second.
second, I gave a second.
Jeremy, just give me the motion.
Okay, make the
one more
motion,
time.
Jeremy.
So the motion was to amend the motion that's currently on the floor to change the new amount the new amount proposed was 40, correct?
No, yes,
Was proposed, and I'm proposing that the new amount instead be 16, which better tracks the actual utilization from the past year
Okay,
and previous years.
so we're just going to go from 46,000 to 16,000.
Correct.
Can I just confirm overall, we're cutting this whole budget by, what'd I count, $36,000?
028.
I know, but the whole
No,
budget.
no, before.
Line 27, you cut by
10.
10.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
Now
4.
you're cutting
Oh, yeah.
another,
Yeah,
and now you're
Correct.
cutting another
30.
30.
Could-
So
could-
that's-
Could we handle the accounting after the motion?
Well,
Council President?
yes, but just remember you spent $84,000 in this budget.
Okay. So, not on this line,
In this budget.
it doesn't show it.
okay?
Yes, it
But
does.
it's-
Expended through
5,000.
$83,989.22.
Oh, I
Right.
see. Okay.
But we're on line 28.
Just keep the whole picture in mind as you make your,
No, I understand that.
Motions.
And Mrs. Palmieri, you have a new number that right now from what we're reducing it from the 40,000. It was 10K from Mr. Sackett's motion. We have a minus 30K to the amended motion from Councilman Jeniak. With those amounts of the 40,000 minus what we had, we're still what was expended in 2017.
18.
18.
Well, I'm saying 17 was 40,153.19.
Yep.
I'm talking about 17.
Oh, okay.
So then,
Yeah.
the expended through December 31st of 2018 was 83,000. What was the reason for the increase of roughly 42 grand from 17 to 18 on 027?
Well, a good chunk of it would have been labor negotiations, but it's not all labor negotiations. It's also, grievance hearings and
Right.
disciplinary hearings, and there's a lot that has to be factored into this budget.
Right, but again, Council President, it's a different sub-account. And we specifically referenced page 7, which is the detail, and we were informed that there's a request for a new item, right, that we don't currently have. And we had a request for an item last year, right? Same thing. We're budgeting large amounts for things that there isn't the follow-through and execution on those items that are being budgeted.
So in
And there's
020
been no presentation, not only to the council, but as we heard this evening, Council President, there's been no presentation to the Assistant BA or the CFO on that line item either. So there's literally nobody who knows what that is intended to do.
Right.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, Mrs. Palmieri, I mean, that's the legal services on account 027, and we've already voted on this anyways.
Yeah, we should-
The collective bargaining agreements, they're completed now.
Right, no, I agree. I said it's not just for collective
I understand
bargaining.
that, but a large portion of that would be coming from that. Will we agree?
We are, yes, a portion of that, but a large portion is also for disciplinary grievances, et cetera.
So we didn't have contract negotiations back in 2017?
During 17?
Yeah.
Yes, we would have for the upcoming, because those contracts expired at the end of 17, so we would have started the process in 17
Okay.
and continued into 18, and now
But,
it's
you know,
19.
grievances would've-
We still don't have we're still working on it, so it's,
But in 2017, with the grievances and the contract negotiations, there was only expenditure of just below 24,000. And then we were getting into and some heavy depth and potential arbitration going through 2018, leading into the 2019, when we expended $65,931.33. So, you know, I think at that point where it's been resolved and moving forward, that may have been the huge spike or the jump from 17 to the 18 that was expended through December 31st of 2018. Well, she's making a comment about the overall.
I'm concerned about the
But
overall.
that's why we need to stay focused on the line we're on. We're getting distracted.
Well, I do have a concern. I know we have a motion and a second, but I do have a concern that we adopted 47,000 in 2018, and we only spent 15.
No, I understand that, but this is new.
Right,
The
so
arm-
that's why we have the motion and the second. I think that's why we're going in that direction.
Correct, we're
Okay.
reducing the 30,000 to bring that to the $16,000 level.
Right.
Do we have a second on that? Hey, Jack, second the,
Jack
think he-
seconded.
Second the first one.
yeah,
The first one, I seconded Jeremy's,
okay.
yes. Yeah, because once I saw the comparison there,
So we would vote
big
on the
difference. I
amendment,
mean, we didn't
and
expense.
then we would vote on,
Yes.
okay,
Why should people be taxed on something we're
Or
not
wait a minute.
using?
the amendment to Mrs. Smith's
We're
motion.
voting on the amendment to Mrs. Smith's motion.
Okay.
And then it's 46 to 60.
All done? Ready?
Yep.
You do the roll?
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
No.
Councilmember Jednak?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
No.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes,
President Kelly?
Yes. 7 yeses, 2 noes, motion carries. And the noes were Jackson and Freeland?
Yes.
Thank you.
And now we need to vote on the reduction.
It's gonna end up being big.
Yeah, now we have to vote on that line now. Okay. You gotta make a motion for that?
We already have a motion. We just amended.
I'm sorry. Who's the roll?
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
No.
Vice President Abrahamson?
yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. I got 8 yeses, 1 no. Motion carries. Do we understand that, Mrs.?
What was the last vote for? I'm sorry.
Well, we made an amendment to the
The
first
first one,
motion.
but the first motion was never voted on.
No.
We amended the motion.
You meant, the first one was to amend the motion, and the second one was to adopt it with,
Yes.
making it from 46
So we
to
adopted the
16.
amended motion.
Got it.
I know.
I got it.
16.
What page?
Oh, I got it back to me.
Well, I didn't, I thought you said a page.
15.
You know what, why don't you give Mr. Jackson some thunder?
Council President, Council,
Yes.
Do I need to go get more roll
was
call?
that your?
Yeah, you might need to, actually, yeah. Go ahead.
What page again?
This is page 15.
What's that, I'm sorry?
15.
Page 15.
15?
Yeah, going back to Chief Financial Officer salary. Once again, 2% of 2018, 129,974. We're looking at 132,573. Just wondering if there was any, once again, clarification on that.
You
Is
know,
it that, that's because,
Mrs. Palmieri?
okay.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, just Sackett asked a question.
The question was, how did I go from 127 to 132?
Yeah.
Okay, so 127 was, okay, I have to start back from 2017, because if you recall, back in 2017, when we were doing the 18 budget, we were looking at that $1,800 salary adjustment at the bottom, if you see it in the 17 column. So the 125 plus the 1,800 is 127. That was my 2017 salary. It's still my 2018 salary. The reason for leaving it flat, if you recall, was because we were still under labor negotiations, and there was concern over giving certain people extra compensation when we hadn't settled the contracts. I think there were 6 people at the time. So that increase to 132 is an increase of 2% on the 127, and then a second increase on the 17 salary. So it's 2% a year.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. It's 2%.
Yeah, so the math is take the 2017 dollar amount, add 2% to that. That's the quote 2018 with retro, and then add another 2% to that, and you get the 2019 value that's right there in the budget book.
Correct.
So the correct number is 132.
Okay.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
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 Page 16. Sub-account 29. Once again, we expended 43,766.48. In 18, we're requesting 48,250, but then recommended is 58,250.
Yep.
I really want to drop that back down to the 48. I don't know why there's an extra 10
I
popped in there.
addressed that with our with our first budget meeting that we had, was it a month ago?
I
What's
did, I
the sub-account?
apologize, I did miss the month
Oh, I'm
away.
sorry.
What's the sub-account we're talking about?
It's
16?
29,
29.
029, page 16.
Yeah, they adjusted it down.
Oh,
I-
Took the 10 grand off.
hold on, no, hold on. Chillax.
Can I answer that?
Need
So
to relax.
I'm
Really?
requesting
So
an extra 10,000 for payroll services that we currently use the vendor ADP. I'm interested in exploring more services with ADP that would help to ease the work burden in my department. I have not gone into further exploration because I don't know if you're going to be willing to fund this or not. But it's just a request that I have now to see if there's, additional services that they can provide to lessen the burden on my department.
But the most recent thing, Mr. Sackett, with the going paperless with deposits, the paper, that minimized some time or some,
We didn't go paperless. What we did was we had everyone get a direct
deposit.
deposit as opposed to a payroll check. So it made reconciling our bank accounts every month much quicker.
that wouldn't be considered paperless?
No, because they still get a paper stub.
Okay.
I remember that from last year, that's one of the things I talked about, and I'm glad that everyone's on the direct deposit, but still, with the, getting the paper things, it's just, how much is that costing us,
I'm sure it's
You
substantial.
really need to be gone with that, they should be able to go online, pull up their payroll, and do it from there.
The argument I get from people, not me, but the argument I receive is, I don't have a computer, and this is the
They
only
can
way to
pull it
get
up
my...
on their phone.
Yeah,
They
I
can
know.
do it on
I'm
their
just telling you,
phone.
but the
I work
expense,
for a big company, we're required to do that, and if you don't do it, if you want the paper, you're required to pay for it yourself.
Okay.
So you have a motion now on the floor?
I'd like to reduce that 10,000 to the
029.
029, I want to go back to the 48,250. This should not keep going up, this should actually be going down.
So,
We have a motion.
I'm sorry.
Looking for a second?
While we're waiting for that second, can we have discussion?
I would rather have this
No, I'll second.
and then we'll go into discussion.
I'll second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now
Can we have discussion?
Yeah.
So the request here over last year is the 10,000 for the additional software that would potentially enable the finance office to go paperless on those.
That's one of the options. I don't.
It's one component,
It's
but
one
it is
component.
one component of
Sure.
that. So the concern here is that, well, the other question that I have is, do we have a number, or is there another line in this budget that tells us the cost of processing the paper envelopes for the current practice?
The current practice in total is $33,250. The current practice. I'm only asking an additional 10 to explore other options that may or may not be available
Right.
to me.
But before we get too far, where would I see that number that you just
Page
referenced?
17.
On page 17,
Seven.
item 029, the last component, ADP payroll processing.
Okay,
Payroll-
so that 33,000 incorporates someone on our behalf printing and stuffing envelopes and
No.
mailing these out?
On our behalf. Payroll comes to us every 2 weeks from ADP with inside the envelope sealed.
Okay.
It includes a whole variety of.
And that service is incorporated in that 33,000, that line item.
Correct.
So for an extra 10,000, one of the potential components of the extra 10,000 would mean that those paper envelopes would never come here because they would just be available online.
Honestly, I don't know if that is going to even be a cost. I haven't explored it yet. I'm just looking for 10,000 to explore, to see what is available to me. I may or may not want to go that direction.
Right, and
But
so,
without the funding in place, I don't want to bother exploring if I'm not going to be able to take advantage of something
right,
that's out there.
and so I'm going to come back to what I said with the previous item that we just cut. My concern is that we're budgeting for things, we're not really sure what it is we're going to do or if we're going to do them. My experience in government and outside of government is there should be a proposal, right, to the governing body of what do you want to do and what will it cost? And that analysis should be done before we do budgeting, right?
We don't
Not,
have that analysis now, so we can kind of
yep.
Yeah, okay.
move this
So
thing forward.
that's
rather
it for my discussion on that.
So we have a motion, we have a second on
But,
there.
but I also would hate the fact that the lack of that analysis means that we're potentially not going to be able to go paperless on that. That's the downside. And that I would hope the administration would consider doing the analysis up front for next year, so that next year, if there's a line, we'll have gotten a presentation well in advance of the
Sure.
budget.
Right,
We can
right.
address that at the time.
Yeah.
I think
I just don't see why ADP, we're paying them all this money. We asked them how much it is. I don't know how much money we have to spend to do an analysis. They should be able to just do it for us as part of our contract with them. Hey, we want to go paperless. What is it going to cost? It should cost us 10 grand to analyze going completely paperless.
Well, like I said, 10,000 isn't necessarily
Yeah.
going paper. It may not
Yeah.
cost us anything. I don't know. That's just one of the things I want to explore. It may not cost us anything. It may save us money. I don't know.
All right, let's take a roll. I think we beat this up.
please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Judenak,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson,
Yes,
President Kelly,
Yes. I got 9 yeses, 0 nos. Motion carries. And that would bring it down to the original 48,250, correct, John?
Yes.
I don't know if anybody has a problem, but I saw Mr. Sackett's piece of paper.
No, let him go.
He's got a lot on there, so you want to continue?
Yeah, please, thank you. Page 28. Line, sub-account number 29. And if you flip also with sub-account 29 to page 29, it gives you information. It says contractual fees, other general legal matters, professional consulting fees, approximately $8,200 a month. So 8,200 times 12 is 98,400. They're requesting 100, but then it's also, once again, recommended 140. And I'd like to make a motion to bump that down to 98,400. Because as we're saying, it's 8,200 times 12, 98,400.
You wouldn't want to just hit their number
We
of,
could do 100,000.
I mean, it's up to
Give them
you.
a
I don't
little
wanna take-
extra. We'll give them 100,000. Yeah, 100,000 is fine.
You okay? I
Yep.
mean, don't go because I just mentioned it.
No, that's what they request. I want to go back to request.
I was going to say.
Yeah,
Is that a motion you want to make?
yeah, I'd like to make a motion to cut that to 100,000.
A second. Oh, that's okay. Go ahead. Jack, second.
Second.
I have a motion from Sackett. I have a second from Quinn. Do we have any discussion in addition to what Councilman Sackett has mentioned?
He did his homework.
Oh, yeah.
So only got like 10 more items.
Please do the roll.
That's good.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Yes.
Councilmember Gednach,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. 9 yeses, 0 nos, motion carries. Mrs. Palmieri, before we go any further, do you want us to do a final motion to what goes to reduce taxation versus what goes into surplus? Like X amount of dollars goes to
Yeah.
reduce taxation, and I don't know if anybody here has thought of that, but I mean, we're getting down this list.
It's a
I know
long
that there's
list.
more that there's going to be.
Council,
do you-
Council President, we covered this last year. All these motions are being made based on our precedent last year in the context of decreasing the taxable amount.
Well, do you want to make that motion, that that's what you're intending
Well,
on
I think we
doing?
have to guide the administration. We can't go by assumption.
Right.
We
No,
did
but that was our intent, yes, last year when we
That
did
was last
this.
year, but we're doing this year, so I think in all fairness, we need to,
Yeah.
how do you,
Last year, you made motions to decrease the appropriations as well as decrease the amount of fund balance anticipated. Then on the night of the introduction, the understanding was misunderstood, and the council's intentions, we were later told, were to decrease taxes, not to decrease the amount of fund balance anticipated. So tonight, given what we've done so far, I'm assuming that your intentions are to reduce taxes from this point, up to this point.
correct, but how do you want us to address that? At the end of whatever we have here, increases, decreases, and whatnot, do you want us, before we're done and adjourned for the meeting, to address a dollar amount for the reduction of taxation and a dollar amount for fund balance?
So far, everything has been to reduce appropriations. If you
Okay.
then before we finish the evening, if you want to then make another motion to decrease the amount of fund balance anticipated so as not to hit the tax so hard, that could be your motion at that time.
Okay.
You mean to not decrease taxes as much?
Yes, you would still be decreasing the budget, but it wouldn't all be on the appropriation side. You would also reduce the amount of fund balance anticipated, which is a revenue line.
And therefore, the taxpayers would not see a change in their rate?
For that portion yes.
Okay. Mr. Sackett?
Page 36. Sub-account 28. Professional consulting. In 2016, we were at 36.4.
Councilman
2017.
Sackett, we're not as quick as you are.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
What line item?
36.
Page 36, sub-account 28.
28.
Okay.
Everyone good? Okay. So in 16, we were at 36.4, 17, 33.2, 18, we budgeted 47.7, we expended 37.1, 67.50. They're once again requesting 47.7, and I'd like to make a motion to reduce that by 10,000 to 37.7.
I'll second.
Yeah, so 28. Mr. Dyer, or maybe Mrs. Palmieri, the anticipation of the increase, which would be dealing with our in-house planner, as well as the board attorneys that are on there, do we know of any expected increase in applicants, appeals?
I can't answer that, I'm sorry.
Okay. Mr. Dyer?
I don't know either.
Okay.
Council President, what's the new dollar amount proposed?
It's minus 10,000.
Yeah, take 10.
Thank you.
Reduction of 10.
37.
Okay, let's do the roll. Keep it-
Any other discussion?
Nope.
I'm sorry, clerk, could you do the roll?
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo,
Yeah, yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson,
Yes.
President Kelly.
No. I have 8 yeses, 1 no. Motion carries. Mr. Sackett?
Yeah, page 179.
179.
It'll be, once again, sub-account 28.
I know. I got one.
You know what, I want to stop you real quick.
You have the information on that?
It's not that I have information on that, I just want to let you know that our assignment judge in Superior Court actually handles the budget. We really technically cannot, if you recall with Honorable Judge Jerry Smith, we really can't modify the municipal court.
Yeah, that's why I was gonna bring that up to see what we got going on with that one. With the, 'cause it's $17,000 increase from the year before, so that just was a certain reason.
Line 28?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Line 28?
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, and it's escaping me a little bit, I think Honorable Judge, substitute judges and everything else for taking away,
Okay.
I think they get 500 per diem. I think
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
it's just
some
clarification.
Yeah.
He explained that really.
Yeah,
Wanted to
Tight,
have
it
more
was a-
special sessions.
yeah, special sessions as well,
Yeah.
those types of things, but I still wanted to, they allowed the difference last year when we made some adjustments for overtime. However, again, the assignment judge that controls the municipal courts within the Morris and Sussex Village, we really are barred from modifying the budget presented by the court. So I hope that answers some of your
Yeah,
questions.
no, that's good. Yeah, that was my question on that, so. I missed that part, came a little late that Thursday.
No, it's okay. But
Council President, do we actually have, or does the CFO's office have the statute that governs that?
I do not.
Are you aware of it?
I'm aware of it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think the judge would misguide us
Yeah.
on that particular thing, and even it was discussed after last year's budget was passed.
We probably should find the statute and just put that right in the budget book
Yeah.
for future years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So we're not in any violation.
Since there was a motion made, I'm just going to go through the procedure. Is there a second on that motion from anybody?
He didn't make a
There
motion.
was no
Oh,
motion.
I'm sorry.
He was just for discussion.
I'm sorry. Next,
Yeah, last one, page 207.
207.
207?
Line 28 of it.
Yeah, you're correct, line 28.
okay, 207?
Well, they reckon
207.
75, and they
Sub-account 028.
Yeah, once again, with the professional consulting, we did budget last year, it's 45,000, 13,700 was used. They requested once again 45. We recommend, then it was recommended 25. And I don't know if there was there anything that maybe missed during a meeting before I make a motion on that one as well? Or
No, I don't have anything for you on that one.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
So then I want to make a motion to reduce that down to 15.
I will second that. And that's based on the usage, previous usage, correct?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
I have a motion by Sackett. I have a second by Jeniak. Discussion on this?
No.
Seeing none, clerk, please do the roll. Oh, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. You got 9 yeses, 0 noes, motion carries.
That's it, thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Palmieri, I have one quick question since we're on 207.
And then before we go off, can I also follow you on that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know what I'm going to say right now.
No, before
Just
you,
while we're in this general area of the budget, that's
Oh,
all.
yeah. We've had some communications where when we went to the operating expenses for the construction department, we had a specific line that was there for facility rental,
Yes.
which
Oh,
was
yeah.
$16,000.
Right.
And I think some of our conversation that we had and looking at the size and the difference, it was about
Mhm.
half the size of the construction department and the water utility.
Right.
To do the same thing of the facility rental, because not everybody is reliant on city water. And it could go into revenue to offset some costs. So how do we actually
Well-
move this to create a facility rental like we do in the construction department?
If I understand, you want to charge the water utility
Correct.
half the rental that we charge the construction department. I think it's 16,000.
It is.
So 8,000.
Correct.
We would charge the water utility and send that money over to the general fund as revenue. So rather than,
Anticipated miscellaneous? How would
yes,
we-
it would be miscellaneous revenue in the general fund.
Okay.
it would go
What would
as
the
re-
taxpayers see on a better return for the taxpayer?
Well, they would see an increase in fund balance because it's miscellaneous unanticipated revenue. That money would be realized in the general fund in 2019, and it would go straight into surplus. And that could be used to offset taxes in the following year.
Correct, and if it was anticipated, what would be a result of that?
What if you anticipated the revenue? Well, you can't really anticipate it this year because the state will only allow you to anticipate what you realized the year before unless you
Okay.
have a contract in place.
Okay,
So that's why you really can't do it now. But you could,
Next
but again, it would go into surplus and you could use that. You could increase surplus next year to reduce taxes in 2020.
okay, so would I need to then do 2 motions? Would I need to do a motion to create a line for the facility rental? Let's just say 078, let's say if I made a line.
Yep.
Because the last line there for telephone is 076. And it would be for $8,000. Then would there be another motion to put it into miscellaneous revenue?
No, you wouldn't have to do the motion into miscellaneous revenue because that would just be automatic. We would just it would just go into the general fund once we charge out the budget in
Right.
2019.
And this is primarily because they're self-funding, no different than the construction department?
Similar, yes.
Yes, okay.
And if I may, and the reason is because you're adding the line into the water utilities budget, which is paid for by the ratepayers.
The ratepayers.
That's a good call. That was good.
So I would like to make a motion to add a line 078 for facility rental for $8,000.
Second. That's good. Good call.
Okay, you're making a motion to add line item 078 for,
What account?
Facility rental. And the account would be 05-55-501.
thank you.
Do we need to specify the sub-account?
Is that sub-account okay?
078?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes, I'm sorry, it'd be a sub-account rather than a line item.
Page
207.
But this, why did you do 078?
Because the last line is 076.
So shouldn't it be 077?
It goes in twos,
Oh, yeah.
I guess.
Got it.
It actually goes on to a second page, but 078 is not used, so you're fine.
77 on the next page.
Oh, okay. I see that.
I meant that.
Okay.
I have a second from Ms. Abrahamson. Is that okay?
It works.
Okay, thank you.
Take that
Please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
sub-account.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilmember Jednak?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes, I have 9 yeses, 0 nos. Motion carries. Thank you for doing that, gentlemen. And
That was good.
Council President,
Councilman Jenny.
while we're on page 207, could we go to page 211?
Oh, yeah, I have notes on this, too.
Go ahead, Councilman.
So page 211 is titled Open Space Tax, and just a question for the CFO. The 2019 request and recommended, that number is calculated based on a formula?
That number's calculated based on a formula, yes. The net valuation taxable times the current open space tax rate, which I believe is .75, equates to this. So unless you're going to increase or decrease the open space tax, that is just the formula.
And increasing or decreasing the open space tax is a ballot referendum?
Correct.
Thank you.
While we're on this, in this area, page 212, I just have a question. Account 000, open space tax.
Mhm.
Or maybe you said it already, I don't know, but why did the number change for 2018 to 2019?
Yeah, I just described that.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay.
I said maybe you did answer that question. Okay, I have it on the
That's
next
okay.
page. Okay.
The calculation changed because of the rateable base for the town.
The rateable
that's
base changed.
the answer,
The rate is the same, the rateable base changed.
Right. But
Rateable base changed.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I don't know if this is related to your question, but on that page, it says in 2013, the rate was increased to .0075, and that was a result of a ballot referendum.
Referendum.
And it's the same.
And it's the same ever since, until another
you have
ballot
another
referendum makes a change up or down again.
Okay,
Exactly.
so that's why it's
So it just
stayed the
persists
same.
at that rate. Thank you.
It's on the ballot, yeah. You vote.
I just asked the same question. It's gonna be changed, right.
Council President,
Go ahead, Councilor Junior.
could we go to page 139?
139?
Yes.
Bless you.
It's like if you got. Oh, you're missing a couple pages.
Okay.
Yeah, or flip the on, see if they're out of order.
We're on 139? Go ahead.
So, Council President, sub-account 000, maintenance of library, similar to the question just asked, am I correct in understanding that that line is the library tax?
That is the library tax, yes.
And that is a calculation again?
That's,
Ba-
yes, it's sent to me by the State Library Board, and they're determining it based on the value of the property and, the value of the town. And so that is it's called a third of a mill. It's a calculation set based on property value.
And the value there for 2019 recommended and requested is the result of that
Yes.
mandatory calculation?
Yes.
The second line there, the 001 contribution,
I think we've already done this, right?
We have.
Yeah.
and that's on our,
The sheet.
on the sheet that you provided us, Ms. Palmieri?
Yes.
That's the donation.
You should have it in front of you. I put it there this evening. There's a donation.
That's the donation. That's
Mhm.
the salary.
What line is that? I'm just trying to follow. Oh, it's the
Oh,
fifth,
that's
fifth,
what the-
fifth line down?
Yeah.
The council president's donation.
The fifth line down?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
That's, got it. That's your salary.
We took care of
Yeah,
that
that's right.
at the previous meeting.
Okay, I didn't know what you were talking about.
Yeah, that's where he chose to put it.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Got it.
Next.
Chicken wings.
Mine's on
Probably at 9, you just don't realize it.
Oh. Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
No?
They're always on their good behavior. Did you create a spreadsheet?
I'm sorry?
Did you create that?
Kinda.
Council President, we might have already done this one before, page 9.
Page 9.
Yeah, I think we did, but we can read it.
Okay. All right, so we reduced line, sub-accounts
We
041
don't have
and
to go over it like that, just confirm with the, Mrs. Palmieri, that's already been done.
Right, but for the members of the public and those watching at home, they won't understand what I'm asking, so 041 and 044, we've already decreased at a previous meeting?
041 and 044, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh.
041, 044. That was for conferences and meetings and association dues for mayor and council.
It's the 6th and 7th. It's the 6th and 7th line on the the report we received from the CFO today.
When we did leases, Jonathan picked up on the one after, like we have vacancies.
Yeah, No, I know, we were just addressing what,
Are we going to go back?
Councilman Sack and stuff, yeah. If you have something, raise it.
Do you want me to do that?
Go ahead, whatever,
Oh, okay.
I think
It's
Councilmember
not-
Smith has been trying to get away.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I just have a question on page I have a question on page 36, line item 112. They're asking for 20,000 and recommended 20,000, but in 18 we spent 94, and 17 we spent 1,800. So I was wondering whether it would be feasible to put that back to 10,000.
I actually had that written down in my notes, but then when I read the description,
Yeah.
it says that's mandated by the municipal land use law. That's why I didn't bring it up.
Yeah, but the reports are mandated. Well, I guess
112?
we better leave it alone.
Yeah, you better go. I think that's every 3 years.
Because there are things, you know, on the planning board coming into town, so.
Yeah, that's why I left it.
And you know, I believe we kind of addressed a little bit when we were dealing with the Wawa, right? I think he was going into additional stuff and seeing what was there.
True.
So there was going to be more that would be vested from our planner to assist us with that and developing some amendments that are necessary for the changing of times, right?
For the master plan reevaluation.
Yeah.
If we
Does
can
that
look,
answer your question, Mrs. Smith? Yeah.
I was just
ask,
asking,
no? Page 15A. In, yeah, tab, I guess 1, under tab 115A. It's my understanding, we have, I have a lot of notes here, give me a minute. Miss Borowick,
Don't say names.
oh,
No names.
sorry. So we have two, I'm sorry, that's why I'm on the wrong page, because I can't see that. We have two vacant positions,
There,
an accountant and a payroll supervisor?
one has already been filled,
Okay, which one?
the payroll supervisor.
Okay,
I believe I gave you a memo on this, or a memo or an email describing where there might be some savings here.
Where's the salary
I
that's at now for
I
that
don't
person?
You
recall
mentioned
that.
it at the budget hearing that you were
There was an
considering.
email, I don't know if it was transmitted to you or not.
No,
Probably not.
Okay,
Nope.
so,
It could, yeah, I looked. I didn't, I
Okay.
forgot to mention it earlier when we talked about the other one. Perhaps,
unfortunately, I didn't copy it with me, but I can tell you what it is. I mean, there is savings between the two payroll positions because the new person was hired for 65, so there's some savings there. And I also talked about possibly downgrading the accountant position to an account clerk position,
oh, yep,
which would save, I don't remember what it was, maybe $20,000. So there's some room there.
Well, we have to make these motions to adjust it on this budget.
yes.
I'm comfortable with that if
Okay.
it
I
matters.
mean, I have it here too. You know, we just were hopping around from your percentages and whatnot, and then we jumped out of that. So we can't go through the threshold of the individual that's already hired.
We can't, I'm sorry?
Well, you already hired somebody.
Right, the
Payroll
person
supervisor.
was hired for 65. She replaced the salary there that's budgeted for
72, 724.
So you've got there's some room there.
so Council President, based on that information we just got, I will make the motion to reduce the payroll supervisor line proposed for 2019 on page 15 from
724 to 65,000.
yes,
Mhm. So that's a savings of 7,724.
65,025.
no, we were just told by the CFO just told us the salary is 65 flat, correct?
Yes, the salary is 65 flat.
Oh, okay. I do.
Second that motion.
Second.
I'll give it to Mr. Quinn. Do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson.
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. At 9 yeses, 0 nos, motion carries.
And Council President, on the same page, the CFO advised us that the vacant account position will be retitled to a different title.
Account clerk.
Account Clerk 1, or Clerk 1, I believe it's called.
And before we go into that, we have the accounts payable clerk. She is now a 2. She's not a 1 anymore.
She is now a 2, yes.
And that would explain the difference from the 48,000 to the 52,020.
Correct,
Oh, okay.
Do we know when that took place?
yes.
What date?
Just a second. Sorry, hang on.
Well, that makes sense. How'd you figure that
It had to be an increase between other
December 14th.
other areas, so I asked her.
December 14th.
December 14th.
So, Council President, so the accountant position will be downgraded to a different title. So I will propose, and the CFO told us a savings of about 20,000.
I
we're
think overall, the 20,000, so if you already took out what, from 72 to 65, so
Will we make a motion to remove that position?
to remove it?
No, I think we just need to
No.
decrease the dollar amount they can retitle,
Okay.
as long as there's a title. Is that correct?
Correct. I mean, if, I would say to, a Clerk 1, when the Clerk 1 was hired, it was at 48, so I wouldn't go lower than 48.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to adjust the accountant, the vacant accountant position from,
65024 proposed.
yeah, 65,025 to 48,000. And do we have to adjust the title, or that's something you can?
No, we can do that.
Okay.
Just the dollar's fine.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
What? It's going
Mr.
from
Quinn.
65,025 to 48.
What was the final dollar amount?
48.
48,000.
Change the title to what?
She's going to adjust the title. I would put a,
Clerk 1
accounts
or
payable
accountant clerk 1?
Probably.
No, why not?
Quinn. Where'd Mr. Quinn, you second that?
Yes, I did.
65.
So sick of these things.
Do you have the savings number?
I'm sorry?
17025, a savings of,
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't need that.
oh, okay.
You ready? Yeah, please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson.
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes, I got 9 yeses, 0 nos, motion carries.
Run it.
Page, 16. I have your line,
16.
Mrs. Palmieri, it would be 014 for overtime. I mean, in the 2016, it seems to be like the highest.
Well,
Do you
this
know
year,
what you expended so far?
yes, we've almost reached the limit, because we had, with our payroll supervisor resigning, January 31st, I believe it was. We had 2.5 months with no payroll supervisor, and I had to have my staff here on Saturdays to process payroll.
Okay.
So we've already, we are almost fully expended our overtime at this point, but I don't see it going beyond that, so.
Well, I mean, you have somebody in that position.
I have someone in that position
that
now,
would-
but that is why that is,
Right. So at the time you put together the budget for the 2,000, you didn't have somebody to fill in that position at the time, correct?
no, at the time I put the budget together, that person had not resigned, but she would still work overtime, as you can see, not excessively, but this year it's going to be more than it has been because of that reason.
And how long was that position vacant?
How long was it vacant? I believe my payroll supervisor resigned on January 31st of 2019, and I filled it on March 15th, same year.
So a month and a half?
So sorry, a month and a half. I was thinking January 1, yes.
Yeah.
February and half of March.
So there should be salary unspent for a month and a half of that salary,
Yes.
and that could be applied to the overtime
Well, we
costs.
don't do that. I mean, we have-
Yes.
Okay.
So you're anticipating from this point on, to hit a 2,000?
I'm already at like 1,800. I have
For a month and a
six, yeah, because of all the coming in on Saturdays for three people to process payroll, because we're doing our jobs during the week, and then we have to process payroll by a certain due date. So we were here 3 weekends in a row getting payroll processed.
Right.
We also have retros that we need to process this year for the police department and the Mars Council 6 and the non-union. So that is also going to be a lot of time spent on payroll, even though I have a new supervisor.
Okay.
Council,
And- Go ahead.
Council President, I don't know if you heard the question that I asked, and that was answered by the CFO. The position was vacant for about a month and a half, so there's a month and a half of that salary unexpended, which could be applied towards the overtime to cover the overtime costs that were incurred during that period of time. It's probably a lot more than what's in that overtime line.
I'll figure it out in a second.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so 34 an hour, and she was gone for, how many hours a week? 80, 160 plus 80. So 240 hours times, what did she make? She made $34 an hour? That's what I said? Oh, shit. 240 times 34. That's a lot. Is that what she makes a year?
You don't need it, right?
Five, right? That's what she makes. Is that what I said before about it?
Yeah. So you want to just,
How much I'm saving, by how much
What do you
the
want the whole thing?
gap is. It's about 7%. Yeah, it can be absorbed, as that was your question.
Excuse me?
When the month and a half that she was, that the position was vacant is about between $7,000 and $8,000.
So more than enough to cover the overtime costs incurred during that time period.
So far, yes. Yes, absolutely. But moving into next year, then if you're cutting me more, I'm going to have to raise it more than 2% going forward.
And the other position is also vacant and accruing unexpended salary, right?
Yes, but again, if you cut it beyond, if you appropriate 48, let's just say, and I hire the person for 48, and then, but I'm only going to be, if you're going to say prorate it for 6 months and only give me half of it, then I have to raise that plus 2% next year.
Yeah, I think the salaries are being funded as they are,
Okay.
right? So, and you can reapply the savings for the vacant months to cover any overtime costs.
For this year, sure, yes.
no, that's what, we weren't addressing any of that. I'm sorry. We're only.
Okay, I thought you were talking about.
No, you have $2,000 for overtime on your line of 014.
So you're concerned that I might go over overall. I don't see that as a problem.
No,
No, I
I'm
just-
saying that you don't need the overtime because you have it already in the the prorated amounts that you just stated.
in the unspent salary dollars.
Okay, but are you looking to reduce overtime, or are you just looking to leave it the same?
Well, if there was a reduction in the overtime, you still have the money that is not spent for the salaries that haven't, for that month and a half. So if you have, $6,500 or $7,000 in the remainder that's, left over that salary,
Yeah, and I think the point is that the overtime is the result of the vacancy. So simply use the vacancy, the funds that are available as a result of vacancy to cover those one-time costs of overtime. But there isn't there doesn't seem to be a significant ongoing need for overtime in general.
If you look at 16 and 17, I'm at 1,400, 1,100, and I expect more overtime this year than ever because of all the retros I need to process.
but you have money in those.
I do, but moving forward, I'm concerned that I'm going to have to make up what you cut me now next year, because I'm going to have a full year of salaries, and I'm not going to have vacancies, I hope. And so there won't be these gaps in time that'll absorb the overtime.
Okay. Is there anything, Mrs. Smith?
Council President, I got a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Plummer.
Okay, let's see.
What page on?
143. Sub-account 155. And it's just, it's a question.
Municipal accounts?
Yeah, it's a question before I make of Mrs. Palmieri. Just looking at what was expended for the last 3 years.
I'm sorry, what sub-account?
155?
155, okay.
So what was expended for the last 3 years was, I'm just rounding numbers out, 105, 108, and 120, right, thousand.
Yep.
And that averages out to about 111 per year. Now, yeah,
So I'm just going to interject one
Sure.
second, I'm sorry. So unfortunately,
Yeah.
with these utilities, it's a little hard.
okay,
Because
I was going to ask that question, go ahead.
Okay, because this budget, these years, 16, 17, 18, 19, they're all cut off at December 31st.
Okay,
And it's a 2-year budget cycle. So what you're seeing here as expended is really only 11 months, because December's bill that comes in January gets charged back to the previous budget year. So you need to, I'm going to tell you what we've expended to date against 2018, and that in line 155, we have spent 132,500, even though we're only seeing 120, because the December month was picked up in January.
okay, but would that same method have applied for the last 3 years?
Yes.
But- But those last 3 years aren't reflecting that kind of number you're talking about.
No, you're saying that there's at
Well,
least,
right, if everything is being,
there's
yeah,
room. If you're saying, can we cut it? Yes, there's probably some room there for
okay,
it.
and
Um,
let me ask you a question. Even at the high water mark right now of 120, and I know it's a utility, but even at the high water mark, if it got scaled back to, say, 127, that's still, approximately,
Well, we've already
so
spent
you're already at
132.
132.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, would you see that bump every again, it's 3 years running, would you see that bump or that that number every third year? I know you're already at 132, but why don't I see, again, either 16 or 17 reflect a number even that close to being that high?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just going by the history.
Yeah. That's
What
I'm
the
saying,
rates
like,
are, I don't know.
I mean, if the methodology was the same for every year,
Well, if you took each one and divided it by 11,
right,
and then added one more month, that would probably get you to 12. But I don't have the history for 12 months for 16, 17, and 18. I have 18, excuse me, I don't have 17 and 16.
All right, in your opinion, would 10,000 off that budget be unreasonable?
Would it be unreasonable?
Yeah.
No, it would not be unreasonable.
Council President, I make a motion to reduce, I guess on page 143, sub-account 155, from the recommended 157,000 down to
I'll second it.
147,000. Jesus, man.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's the pretzels. I'm
I hope you don't drive as fast as you want to second it.
One-
You wouldn't have a license.
So 147?
147.
Just, I'm going to say this again real quick, Mr. Palumbo, so I apologize. You have sub-account on page 143, which is 155, and you want to reduce
Page 143, sub-account.
sub-account 155 on page 143. The recommended was 157, and you want to drop it 10,000 to 147.
Correct.
Mr. Freelander, you made a second on that?
Need a quick second. It's like a 1.5. That's how quick it was.
Yes.
Any discussion?
Yeah, quick
Go ahead, Mr.
discussion.
Sackett.
The reason I didn't go into these was I was just a little concerned with these type of things, JCP&L. Sometimes the rates could fluctuate, and I don't want to see us get into a situation where we won't have enough money to pay our bills. That's why I didn't go into them, because we don't know
Yeah.
what the rates could be. They could fluctuate. I'd rather have the money in there, and then at the end, go back into the surplus. If we pull it out, and then, we spend more on that, we're going to run into a little bit of a problem. That's my only thing.
Question?
Go ahead, Mr. Quinn.
Yes, and Jonathan, that's one of the reasons I didn't go into this also, because of that reason. Utilities do get their rate increases by the Board of Public Utilities, and we don't know what it's going to look like, so I wouldn't touch this at all.
I think one time, Mr. Anello actually cut one time one of these accounts that was there. Any other discussion?
Well, yeah, so my question is, how is the projection done for a line like that to arrive at the recommended or requested amount?
Really just based on history. And you can see we did cut it already from 165 to 157, but again, erring on the side of caution in case the rates are more than we expect.
Yeah, on page 144, she did calculate 15,000 a month, give you 181 in the library portion. That's why they cut it down to that. So they are guesstimating at 15 times 12, which is 181.
Yeah, we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Palumbo
That's a good idea.
Okay,
for page 143.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what we discussed when I walked out, okay,
And it was seconded by Freelander. It's sub-account 155.
okay.
And it was the municipal accounts where they wanted to reduce the recommended of 157 down to 147.
And Mrs. Palmieri said,
That you can do that, but it was a matter of projection, of what's there. They really don't know. It has been cut before in the past. However, they were just putting that number there. Again, unexpected rates that were there. Mr. Quinn kind of echoed the same thing as well as Mr. Sackett. And we have a motion to call the roll for.
One more question.
Go ahead.
The library portion of that, how is that arrived at?
we take the total electricity bill for this building, this floor, and the police department, and we divide it into three, because we figure, this floor is 1/3, the police department is 1/3, and the building across the street is 1/3.
Thank you.
But that also,
Go ahead, Mr. Freeland.
That also includes Hibernian.
Oh, yeah, well, the electricity, I'm just saying for this building,
Oh, okay.
I take that bill and I split it into three.
Because we get one bill for this complex.
Right, yes.
Anything else, man?
No,
No, it's good.
I'm good on that one.
Everybody okay if we can do the roll?
I'm going to change my mind.
Councilmember Quinn,
No.
Councilmember Friedlander,
No.
Councilmember Jednak,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
No.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. Lost my count, I'm sorry.
We have 6 yes, 3 no.
Right.
Motion carries.
6 yeses, 3 noes, motion carries.
Council President,
Go ahead.
page 139. I'm sorry. Oh. You know what, I misnumbered, so you have to come back to me. I need to find the correct page. I didn't note the correct page.
Okay. I have a question, Mrs. Palmieri. On page 142, provision for salary adjustments, sub-account 002, it was zeros straight across, and then we have 2019, 20,000, and 2019 recommended of 20,000. What is that for?
Okay, so when we prepared this budget, we did not know what the contractual salaries would be for 18 and 19. So the budget includes an appropriation for the retros that will have to be funded with the police salaries and the Morris Council 6.
And is that the sub-account 002 on that page?
002. Yes.
And that $20,000 will cover that?
Well, because we budgeted a portion of the increase, but not the full 2% in one case, and the police received rolling the 4 holidays into their base, the contract that you approved.
Right.
So, no, the budget, when you go line by line through the
Right.
budget, does not show that full amount. So this 20,000 is going to make up the difference.
Okay. Okay.
Council President, I have a question.
And
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Palumbo, go right ahead.
that was the missing page that I was looking for, so thank you.
Oh. Really? That's fine. You're welcome.
Mrs. Palmieri,
Yes.
page 212,
In capital?
under open space tax.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We just addressed this not that long ago.
Yeah, but I've got more questions,
Okay,
I'm
sorry.
sorry. And if I'm being redundant, I apologize, but...
It's okay.
Stay haircut? Okay, looking at this, as I recall, this was a referendum, am I correct?
Correct.
Put to the voters of Rockaway Township.
In the years that you see there, yes.
Yes, on the ballot. I remember it pretty well, because it was billed to us as football parents. Money that, if we voted yes, money that was going to go towards Peterson Field.
Okay.
Okay. I think Mr. Jackson remembers it the same way I do, because our sons are about the same age. Anyway, this money was just raised in that time period. In other words, the 306,518 has that been sitting there for about the past 7, 8, 9 years? In other words, is under the open space tax, is this balance accumulating every year?
Yes, it's accumulating every year. It's also being used to pay down debt every year.
Pay down debt?
Debt from, say, for example, the Peterson Field parking lot project that we did.
Okay, so when it was initially passed, I guess way back in either 8 or in 2008 or 9, the money was earmarked, was it earmarked for Peterson Field?
No, for several projects. It goes, there's a whole history of it. The Peterson, I don't have a breakdown of the
Okay, I
debt,
mean,
but
especially now,
it's different projects over the course of time.
Different projects relating to recreation or anything?
Recreation, what is it? Recreation, farmland, open space.
Okay,
The statute
I-
governs what uses are allowed.
Yeah.
But
okay.
just to, the initial question that was asked by Councilmember Palumbo, that dollar amount that's there, that's just the amount being raised this year through taxation.
Yes.
That's not the balance of what's in that account. You
Correct.
have that somewhere else.
That is
Usually
in a separate trust altogether. It's
and-
not part of this budget.
And we see that in the audit books
You see
usually.
that in the audit, yes.
You wouldn't happen to have,
I do not. No.
Okay, so the balance in the account, and this process started by a referendum to the voters in 2008, maybe?
I think it's
9?
longer than that.
Maybe,
No, I think it's longer than that.
the statute is, I think, post-2000 when municipalities were allowed to begin doing that, and then a lot of municipalities started putting these things on the ballot, and they started to get passed. I asked about this in previous years, because I had asked, we're collecting this money, what are we doing with it? And the answer that I received in those years is that much of that, if not all of it, was already committed to old borrowing that was already
Projects that are
Undertaken.
already, yes, such as the Peterson Field parking project. But, and
So it went to Peterson for the parking lot.
once that's paid, once that's paid down, I don't know how many years are left, then, this tax would continue to be raised to be used for future projects. That's how it,
okay,
that's how it works.
Ms. Palme, would you know, if you're saying that 306,000 was just raised in 1 year?
It's about to be raised this year.
About to be raised?
Mhm.
And you don't know the balance for all these years? I know you said it went towards projects.
I don't know the number off the top of my head.
Well,
I mean, some of it is earmarked towards old projects, some of it is, not. So it's,
Okay.
Can be used to do a new field somewhere. It depends on how much is already committed. I'd have to go back and,
and when you say the parking project, it's the upper parking lot that was paved.
all the work we did back in 2000, was it 2012?
Is that
14?
how old that parking lot is?
It's
No.
several years.
That parking lot can't be but what, about 2 or 3 years old. The new parking lot in Upper Peterson,
So 2016, 15, whatever it is.
whatever. All right.
I thought it was much earlier than that, 'cause
I thought it was like 12 or 13.
yeah, I remember when they were clearing it
Still
out.
coaching. Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Okay.
Time flies.
So you said the money can go to other things other than Peterson,
Oh, yeah.
and other than the recreation, but.
No, it has to be earmarked towards parks,
I
recreation
understand that,
facilities, yeah.
but not necessarily Peterson.
No.
Yeah.
So it can be used for things like acquiring properties.
Absolutely.
If there's a
As long as
property
it's
for-
open space properties, you can't use it to buy a facility to put the water department on. It has to be.
Was that tried?
Did we try that? No. No.
But there is a balance, and that balance is paying down, but we don't have an
Existing debt.
accounting at this point.
No, I have an accounting, just not with
No,
me.
you do have an accounting,
Oh,
but not with
absolutely.
you. I don't mean it that way.
Yes.
And the audit covers the balance of accounts like that that are accrued by that taxation, and then
The audit won't give you details of what projects were funded. I have that in my office. I have it earmarked for what future debt we have and what projects that's earmarked for. The audit will give you amortization schedules, but it may not necessarily give you the names of every project that we did.
it'll tell you the numbers, but not what those numbers represent necessarily.
Right, so if you want further detail, I mean, I can provide it to you, I just can't provide it this
But
evening.
can this conversation take up another time, because it's not going to be related to this right here?
It is budget related. It would be good for us
Is there a
to,
question that you're looking to cut, to?
I didn't raise it. It was at that end of the day is that brought it up.
You really can't cut it because it's set by the,
I'm saying, if we're limited to what we
tax
can do, maybe we can move
Well, I
on.
think Dick
But I
was
think
going
the-
another direction.
Yeah, I think the question,
I just think the question is right. So if,
Yeah, I know
this
the
year we're
direction.
raising with a rate of .0075, we're raising 300,000, and it started 10 years ago at a rate of .01. I mean, we have been raising millions of dollars,
Yeah.
right? And like, so for millions of dollars, all we've
Right.
gotten out of Peterson is a parking lot.
Right.
And I think that's where Vic
Yes,
and I are
that's
at.
where I'm
right?
picking up on you too. Yep.
and we're paying back, what I was told previously is that all the money that was raised by that is already committed to paying back bonds. So,
but not just
but
Peterson.
that is
bonds.
worthy of a separate conversation, especially around the whole context of Peterson and other projects and other things like Parks Lake, things like that.
Would you know, and I don't know if you would know the answer, but is it permissible as a referendum now? I know we voted on that referendum years ago, but and whoever would know, whoever does or doesn't know, is a referendum allowed to be specific to an issue?
I believe it is specific.
Well, no, I mean, it isn't in a way, because you said the open space tax went to a broader issue. It has to be used under certain guidelines, right?
Right.
Okay, and when I want to narrow it down further, are referendums where the money that the voters approved has to be earmarked for a specific project.
Well, why don't we,
Yeah,
Yes.
I think the problem
Yes.
is the original referendum was just for open space.
It was, yeah, and then I think it was brought in to include, beyond open space, that it could include recreation.
Right.
Because originally it was just open space, meaning trails. Now it's beyond that, like where
Yeah.
you could build a turf field if you wanted to with it, for example.
Yeah, but I think what you're asking is, could you do a referendum to
For a
raise money for a
specific-
turf field?
A specific project.
I believe you can, but
Okay.
I'll have to research it.
Yeah, because
So
we
the
have
idea-
that, that's something I have to address as well.
So as an example, putting it on the ballot, saying, we'd like to propose to the voters whether they would like to increase that by 1% in order to fund Project X specifically. Yeah, so it's, from the reading with the notes that are here, it sounds like that's what they did in 13 for the parking lot project.
Well, one component got turned down, the other one went through, correct?
Yep.
The actual turf field got turned down.
Yep.
I actually I have a property that got affected by that.
Yeah, that was on
Are we done on that discussion, gentlemen? Go ahead.
anything else?
What is it? No, yeah, neither.
That's right, I had to retake my booty.
It's super touchy.
Yeah, yeah.
Did we deal with page 122? Heavy sub-account 041. 122.
No, I don't think we did.
I know that we didn't, I'm just going on to it. We, on sub-account, is everybody on that? I'm sorry. On the Environmental Commission, I mean, going on our own website, I don't think we've had any reports or any meetings back as far as 2013 that I've done research on. And I see here that we have on line 041, conferences and meetings, expended 0. We asked for 900, expended nothing. We asked for another 900, it was recommended the same. Do you know if there's anything prior to 2016 that has ever been used?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just gonna look and see if anything was charged this year from to last year, but probably not. I'll take a quick look.
Looks like it's just two items, that's 900.
I'm sorry?
You know, if you go to one, the lead municipality, thing.
Yeah,
No, nothing to date.
okay. I would make a motion to remove, drop the 900 to zero on line 041.
Second. I'll second.
Thank you.
To your point, Council President, the Environmental Commission in our code is actually supposed to provide the council with an annual report. I asked for, when I became council president last year, I asked for the last two,
Yeah, but
and
we're gonna
and we
just-
didn't receive them.
Yeah, we're just,
And
there's a reason.
I don't believe we received one this year either.
No, we haven't. Like I said, there's no minutes, there's no nothing that's going on there. And I don't know if there's any other discussion regarding the 900 to a zero?
No.
No? Clerk, please do the roll. I'm sorry.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Yes.
Councilmember Jedenak,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. 9 yeses, 0 nos, motion carries. Real quick question, Mrs. Palmieri, on page 100, it would be 038,
What's the department?
automotive maintenance.
Okay.
Page 100,
Yes,
038.
038 would be the sub.
Why can't I find it?
Yeah, it's for the computer. I'm just gonna ask about if it go in capital or versus,
What's it?
yeah.
038.
You got 038?
Yes.
100. Is there a reason why this isn't in capital for the 16,000 for the diagnostic equipment that they're looking for? I mean,
No.
the one snap-on,
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I don't see why not. It's, as long as it has a 5-year life, which I believe it does,
yeah.
it could be considered capital.
Do we want to move that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to move it to capital.
The whole thing.
Correct.
That's also for tools for employees per contract.
Well, that particular tool, what they stated was going to be 16 grand.
Well, and it also includes $380 for tools per the employee contracts, so you'd have to back that out.
Take that out of there?
Yeah, you can't take the whole 16, you'd have to move.
How many employees would that,
Uh,
No, how many
don't know.
employees does it benefit?
There's,
Thankfully, we're not at that many.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 5 or 6.
So,
Maybe you could move 13.
excuse me?
I mean, if we left 3,000 in there and just moved 13.
Yeah, that's, I just got that number too, great. Okay, so then I will make a motion to move 13,000 out of account 26315, sub-account 038 into capital.
Second.
Council President, I think we need to make a motion to increase the other line and then decrease this line.
Mrs. Palmieri?
It's probably cleaner that way.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
two separate. Or, well, you can do them as one, but an increase and a decrease.
So
Should we make a motion to amend?
Did the motion come out already?
They could withdraw
You didn't?
it.
I made a motion.
Did
but I
anybody
think-
Mr.
second?
Jackson seconded it.
Yeah,
Okay, hold on.
so should I withdraw my motion?
Hold on.
To
038,
It's gonna come out of capital,
auto maintenance.
I know.
It's gonna go into
Don't worry.
go into capital. We were cutting it and putting it into capital.
Yeah, we're reducing one.
Right.
Increasing one and reducing the other.
Which capital?
It would be a new capital line item?
Yeah, right?
Yes, no, I thought I heard someone say which line.
Yeah.
It would be a new line.
So
Okay.
do you want us to vote on it separately then?
If you wouldn't mind.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'd be cleaner.
So you want to do the one, to increase a capital line first?
We're going
Or
to
does it
add a
make a
capital
difference?
line, 13,000 for diagnostic, and then a motion to reduce line 038 from 16 to 13, to
I think she said she
3.
wanted the separate ones, Mr. Jackson.
Yeah, the question was, what do we do with the motion on the floor? They could withdraw it,
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
We could amend it, either option.
I don't do.
I would just,
I'm gonna withdraw my motion.
make a new one to increase the,
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to increase capital line item to $13,000. And I'm gonna make another motion, one at a time. So that's my motion.
is that clean for you, Mrs. Palmieri?
Yes.
For diagnostic,
Yeah,
automotive
diagnostic.
diagnostic.
For diagnostic equipment.
It's an automotive.
Second.
Did Mr. Jackson second it?
Yeah.
Public Works. Yeah, but where? That's what I'm saying.
Do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Jedenak,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. 9 yeses, 0 nos, motion carries. Then, do you want to make?
I'm gonna make a motion. I now make a motion for account 0126315, sub-account 038, decrease that by $13,000.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none.
No, you're making it to line item 3,000.
Correct.
Yeah, she reduced it, yes. To 3,000.
Ready? Please, the roll.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Yes.
Councilmember Jedenak,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. 9 yeses, 0 nos, motion carries. Does anybody want to take like maybe a 3-minute break?
Yeah.
If that's all right? I kind of feel everybody's
Thank you.
kind of, yeah, I seen your eyes are floating.
So we're recessed.
Right as well. You need dinner?
Only he would think of that.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing it. That's what I'm working on. To see what we're up to?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting there. 7724. I'm not gonna worry about water. I'm not gonna factor that in right now. Okay. But yeah, I'm almost there. What was that? 9 plus 900 plus 13 plus. That's it. 200,879. I'm not gonna worry about water because it doesn't have any impact on the tax rates, and they're going to actually, what did they do? They added 8,000 to gift to current. So that's not really anything. And then, I mean, it's not anything that the water utility can spend it on.
Right.
And then he cut 10, right, out of water? He added 8 and he cut 10. How does it work? Water?
No, like as far as saying that they added construction.
Construction? You mean why we charge them rent?
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm saying he wants to took from 16 to 8.
No, he was using construction as an example.
Okay.
In construction, we charge the construction department $16,000 to rent their facility. And we basically charge their budget and give it back to ourselves.
Right.
It goes into miscellaneous revenue. And it's just a simple way of justifying the fees we charge. But I want to,
We charge the residents.
the developers
Right.
that get their permits, yeah. I want to add this up again. See if I'm missing anything. I tried to circle the cuts. I'm not worrying about capital. So this first 55,000 has no impact on tax, really. It just doesn't matter. So I think the first cut is this.
Right, that doesn't get the 50. I'm seeing that.
Yeah, I got 1,100 out of engineering,
11 to, yeah.
and then I got 35,000 out of construction.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have 10,000 out of human resources. 6130 out of clerk.
The deputy clerk.
Cutting out the deputy, yep,
Right.
Reducing the deputy. Then I got 30,000 out of human resources again. This one hurts.
Right, the 46 to 16.
Yep. Then I have finance going down 10.
ADP.
40 out of legal OE. Oh, they did cut legal OE. That was number 029. Okay, I forgot about
That
that.
was 029, that was 10. That was 40.
Yeah, 40, I forgot. Okay, then 10 out of planning board. Right?
Yep.
And then I'm not doing water. Then I am not doing water, so now I'm here. What is this? Finance from this is the payroll.
The payroll.
7724 plus. This is the downgrading the spot 17025. Does that look right? I mean, I'm not, you're not checking my math, but does that look right? Like
That's the,
going from accountant to clerk 1.
right.
Then I'm going electricity out of 10
Vic.
plus 900 out of this. Stupid environmental commission, whatever. What is this? Auto maintenance.
Right, that was
Moving third. Yeah, I'm gonna count that as a cut, even though we're still gonna buy it. Is that right? I got a different number. Now I got 190,879. I'm off.
10,000.
No, Yeah, 10,000. One,
Well, you're
one,
right.
I'm off 10.
Right, and even 10.
Yeah, why? Did I count this water the first time?
Did we get the clerk?
Yeah, I thought I did.
65, Oaks to 48.
I'll do it again. We're gonna get the same number twice. It was definitely, I want to get the same number twice. 1,100. 35. 35 and 10 is 45.
Yep.
6130. 30, 40, 80, 90, 100. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but yeah, but look what I did again. Take off 10. Because I'm not counting water.
Oh, shit.
I'm not counting water. 7724 plus 17, well, 20025, no, 27025
27, 25.
plus 900 plus 13,000. 190,879.
Right.
That's not that bad. I don't want to tell them that.
Maybe salaries. She wants to know about salaries.
Nothing that hurts.
Right.
Nothing, nothing that, nothing that's painful.
Right.
No, no, no people are affected. I thought they were going to go after me. Not yet,
No,
anyway. I was
you
waiting
handle
for it.
yourself well.
Oh, I was kind of warned ahead of
Mm-hmm.
time.
Um,
Tax only.
I mean, it's literally just the clerk, the deputy clerk.
They cut the clerk. I told them to cut mine. I already told them. She never sent them the memo. About,
Yeah.
yeah. They cut, uh, is that it? Salary?
Deputy clerk,
And they didn't cut it out.
down
They
to
downed it, yeah. They downed it to,
48.
48 something. Sorry, I'm like burping, gross. 48, where'd it go? Here, clerk, 45,789.
So they,
They cut it by that. That's what I wanted to check, make sure I did this right. 51,918
that's it, right?
minus 45,788. 6130.
6130.
Mm-hmm. So roughly, they've cut 200,000.
That's,
You can tell
that's
her
the
that.
only one. Yeah, I told her 200 to 879. So the deputy clerk is the only one that tax goes on, right?
For salaries?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and my stuff, but I told them to. They cut my,
Well, we knew that before.
I knew, yeah,
Yeah.
I knew it. I don't know why she didn't send it to them.
She doesn't do that.
She sent them everything else. Really, she sent them.
She might.
She might have just forgotten, because I don't think she meant to not give it to them. Hey, Jack.
Yeah, you sent it. You sent it to me.
I sent to you and her, and I expected her to forward it to the council,
Mm-hmm.
but I honestly think she forgot.
Yeah, I'm sure she forgot.
Because she sent them everything else. It was stuff was coming
Right.
through that I didn't even know existed.
But deputy clerk, that's it. 6130.
What's that? 6130. Yeah, and now, are these right? So I'm not counting capital, because that's not
Yeah,
really affecting
that's a
taxes.
want.
Whatever. So this is, right, 1,100.
Yep.
This is, what am I doing here? This is, 35 to 0, so that's 35.
Right.
That's 10.
That's the vehicle.
This we just did.
Yep.
This was revised to this, which is 30.
What is that?
This was the human resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Then this is my 10,000 in my payroll. This is legal. This is planning. This is water. I didn't count it. Oh, this is 25. I didn't count it because it doesn't affect the taxes. It affects the water rates, and the water rates are not going to change,
Right.
regardless of what they do. Where am I now? This is water again.
It's water again.
No, I didn't. I just.
This
I
is,
just have
this is Jen
just
to,
have the comments
to Brenda.
to see if
Right.
there was anything.
This
about
is
the,
Borwick to downgrading.
Yep.
And that number's right? 65025. I should double check these.
Space tax.
Because, if it's complicated math, I have to do it on a calculator.
No.
Bond issue outstanding.
72,724 minus 65. is 7724, and then this is 65025 minus 48.
Then the
17025. Okay, and then this goes down 10. This is who? This is electricity, which I wasn't happy about that either. This is
The
environmental commission.
commission for,
And then this was her moving the capital. Yeah, we're cutting
What it says.
auto maintenance down by 13, but she just put it into capital.
that's a push, right, or no?
It's not a push because it's a cut to the budget, so it's gonna reduce taxes. All it means is that we're gonna pay for it out of capital, but I'm not, how do I say this?
256.
I'm borrowing it,
So,
so over 20 years, it doesn't make a difference. Yeah, but that's why they did it, so you can still get it without having to.
this is what
Yeah, all right, I'm gonna run a laser.
this is debt service. And then this open space tax is 406. Which presumably is dedicated to pay that foreclosed bond.
She wants to cut it.
2,286,000. No, this says it should be 2,235,000.
Yeah.
So this is like $50,000 more than what should be paid. I don't know.
I was going to ask you, do you want to maybe grab, on your way back, if you're near your office, the document you said that we're able to see the balances of the trust account?
That's gonna take me some time. I'll provide that to you.
Anyway, so, yeah, thing is, presumably, this 3.6,
They've always told me that it's dedicated to that. And
that
there's-
should be
there's always
dedicated,
been-
should be dedicated to pay this
Yes.
bond.
She doesn't have it, she's running to the bathroom. I think it's around two,
Right, right.
But if that
I'll get it.
amount fluctuates year after year based on the rateable base, it seems strange that there couldn't be any excess. You figure some years you'd be over, some years you'd be under.
The way I read this is that rate was increased .75 to cover the project, the Peterson Field project, not the bond.
Is that just because you have a scheduled time, or you can stay on?
So that could be, I don't know how much that project cost.
That's what I could have
We've had other expenditures related to parking and capital, all the capital, or extra lines from we had it last year. One of the parking.
At Peterson, there was
Yeah, if you look at last year's capital, it's on the web. It's hard to follow some of these things,
oh.
because they're in different
yeah.
places.
I didn't bring the entire budget. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go through that confirmation on that, there's some other stuff.
what was the number what's the number we're at?
Just let me,
Whenever you're ready.
You got a question?
yeah, just hold on,
200,
roughly. I mean, 198.79. We're just around 200. Oh, yeah, let me do that. So 198.79 plus 55 plus, I was breaking it down between tax and water. This is the taxes. This is capital. And hang on, what else didn't I include? This is water, 10 is water. 13 was capital. That's this one. And I think that was it, right? Those are the only things that it included, right?
190 plus 55, right?
Well, 190 is tax. 68 is water. Right?
Mhm.
And, no, 68 is capital.
Cap, yeah, that's all it is, and the water's in the town.
And then water is 10.
Okay. But that's only 5% anyways of this here.
What is your goal, or do you have one?
I do.
Okay.
I mean, well, there's a lot of stuff that's in there anyways, it's just I'm not gonna let something go by because of a goal that's either hit.
Oh, no, I wasn't sure if you had a target or you're,
I think the number you know I'm trying to tag.
yeah, I kind of do. Okay. What did he say, 5%?
They cut anything from admin other than 40?
Well, yeah, 40 out of legal and 30 or whatever it was out of HR.
Put me back on.
It's 10:16.
Yeah, we are. I'm trying my best here.
And
If you use that, you don't get.
Do you just want to
40 out of
state that we're
HR.
back on the record?
We're back on the record. You know, I'll offer this again. I just saw Mr. Jekyll come in. Mr. Jekyll, I don't know if there's open to the public that you might want to come up in case you wanted to say something and maybe you can't stay for the remainder of the meeting. Is there anything you want to go up to the microphone and talk about? You're good for now?
That's what he said. You know, I know. That's not gonna go. That's the balance refrigerator. But it's an easy
Everybody ready?
operation.
On page 2,
Swallow, 'cause it's everybody's real fast. Yeah, those are the big ones.
conferences and meetings, 041.
What department?
Mr. Dyer, we have
What page is that?
1,800 in 2016,
Wait.
2,000 in 2017,
Sorry, what page are we on?
2.
Two.
Page 2. Yeah.
You got
We're good.
page 2 would be
41.
4041, conferences and meetings. It's never exceeded, I mean, I guess in 2017 you hit it right around 2,000. And in 2018 you hit 1822. Do you foresee anything that you have coming up that's different from?
I have not been told anything additional to what we've done in the past.
Okay.
Any like biannual meeting or, no.
Okay. I make a motion to reduce 041 conference and meeting from 2,500 to 2,000.
Second.
Any discussion?
Can you tell me that one more time?
It's page 2, it would be sub-account 041, conferences and meetings. What the account?
No.
And reducing it from 25 to 2. To the roll?
And,
Oh, sorry.
was Abrahamson
I missed
seconded?
Yes.
tallying, because it was 9 o'clock. The last one. Sorry, it's on your shirt, but I didn't- Huh? Yeah, what?
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
It's in my book.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. 9 yeses, 0 nos, motion carries. Um,
That's 9 o'clock.
I have, same page, 059. Computer equipment. I see that we expended $0 amount in 16, $103 in 17. Spent it 0 in 2018. Is there anything that we have, Mr. Dyer, that you know that's coming up?
I don't think, there's no updates or, that I know of, no.
Okay.
Upgrades.
Yeah, and again, things like computer upgrades, computers have a useful life of around the 5 years or longer. We really should be batching those up across the needs of the entire municipality and just having a capital line.
They are, there's a capital line in the budget every year. It ranges between 10 and 20,000.
But then we're also putting it in the operating line.
In the
Well,
operating, it should be
this is for
equipment,
printer cartridges. it says.
cartridges, toner, miscellaneous.
But don't we have contracts in place with the copier companies to cover?
Toner?
Yeah, toner.
Per page, isn't it?
Not for
No,
computer toner.
that's for the copiers, not for the individual office printers.
So we have copiers and we have individual printers in offices.
So in literally in the last 3 years, we've only spent $103. 16, 17, and 18.
That sounds like one toner for one printer.
My guess is it was spent in some other line item then.
Then do we even need the line then?
Right.
What's that, Mr. Quinn?
I said you would charge it to the right line item, you would think, but
I wonder if they had it in office supplies, because if you look at office supplies, they were a lot higher and now they're down. I don't know.
They probably put it
I would make a motion just to reduce that line, 059 to 500 from 1,000.
Second, 500. Reasonable.
I'll second it.
What did he just say?
You're reducing it from what to?
1,000 to 500. You ready?
Yep.
Please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Jedenak?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes, 9 yeses, 0 noes, motion carries. I have on .044, Mr. Dyer, association dues.
Can I just say I have a note here that the mayor said he wasn't going to any conferences? So it was supposed to.
That was in the council and mayor's budget.
That is what we were
Oh,
told.
okay.
That's already gone?
No,
not this.
It was out of the clerk's budget that we removed.
So I thought it was out of this
Oh,
one.
yeah.
We didn't take any action on this line yet.
I see.
We took action in a different line.
In the
Under
mayor's
council and mayor.
Wasn't it
Council and mayor,
that
yes, council and mayor.
Yeah, and this is separate. This is association dues for meetings that won't be attended.
So we did take action on it. We took action on the $500. The New Jersey Conference of Mayors went from 500 to 0. And we did that at the,
We did that at a previous meeting.
Isn't that on page 9?
No, it's on page 3.
3.
Page 3.
On the council,
Yeah, we might have done it there too, but we did it on page 3 also.
seeing it on the.
Okay,
Have
if you
it right
look on,
here, and she agrees.
if you look under account 20-100-044.
It's right there. It goes from 4,000 to 35.
Correct.
Yeah, I gave it to them.
Here, yeah, here.
So it's line number 9 on the report we received this evening.
Yep.
Line number 9.
There you go.
We also did it on,
Mayor and council. Mhm.
okay. I thought we only did it on the one.
Mm-mm.
Thank you. And then, Mr. Dyer, on the 023, just the printing and binding?
That's of the budget. Yeah, that's for the budget.
Oh, 33?
23.
No. I was gonna say back charge.
We only had one expenditure on that in 17, 362.
They are for the budget books, but you probably charge them to the wrong line.
Was that just like new business cards for you guys or something like that?
Those are budget books, right?
Yeah, I mean, it can be, I think printing and binding is typically for these books, but we try to recycle them so it's not as expensive, and,
Okay.
yeah, that's all I can say.
And the last one here is 077, cell phones.
We cut that to 0?
That was cut to 0.
That's all gone too.
Council President, can we go to page 129? I'm wondering if there's a calculation error.
Sure.
So on page 129, the title, Park Maintenance Supervisor, the proposed 2019 salary, when I do the math from 2017 and add 2 consecutive 2%, I get less than the 2019 amount. But if I do the 2018 amount with 2 consecutive 2%, then I do get the 2019. So
I'm sorry, what title is it? Park Maintenance
Rec
Supervisor?
park
First
maintenance.
row on page 129. So the calculation, my understanding for the 2019 is supposed to be the 2017 number with 2 consecutive 2%, but it looks like 2018 was used to get the 2019. So I think we're off by about 6,000 there.
Yes, I believe there was an increase for that individual. Just a minute. Yes, there was a promotion in 17, in April of 17, bringing that salary up to 102, 322.
But our budget sheet says something different for
The
2017.
budget was the budget as prepared at the time was 96,323, and then like I said, an increase of $6,000 brought it up to 102, 322, which is what's approved in 18,
So there was no further increase in 18
and then 2% on top of that for 19.
because the 2017 number is higher than expected. That's why the calculation is being done the way it's done.
Yeah, because in 17,
Okay.
the salary went up to 102, 322. Then on top of that was 2%, bringing it to 104. And then 104 with another 2% brings it up to 106, which is what's in the budget.
Right on the head.
You good on that, Chair? Jeremy, you good on that?
I understood it.
I had some kind of question on that too.
Page 134. We can go there next.
Yeah. You doing all right?
So the three sub-accounts on page 134, the first two look like they've had no expenditures,
Yeah.
and then the third one, I'm sorry, the first two have had no expenditures ever, and the first one had, and the third one looks like it had no expenditures last year.
Said at the meeting. It was moved, I forget, where was it moved from?
That wasn't for, this line, was it? I think that was, the lines that were moved were, Senior Citizen Center. It's a different department,
Right.
Senior Citizen Center. Those were all moved to either Buildings and Grounds or this line, Senior Citizen contributions. And, that's why you see, they were moved into this department. The reason why you see nothing charged to account 199 is because they just simply hadn't submitted their reimbursement request yet, but it will be charged for 18 in 19. That will be fully expended.
So we have expenditures for 2018 that are not accounted for here.
Not yet. They probably have already been accounted for because they put their requests in, they're supposed to do it by the end of the year. Sometimes they don't. So they may put them in and we may have to pay them in 19 for 18.
And you prepared this book for us on March 11th is when we received it, right?
Right, but remember, we always cut these off at December 31st. They're always cut off at December 31st.
And they're supposed to get their expenditures in by December 31st.
Well, I don't know that it's in writing anywhere, but they should. I mean, it's typically, that's when they do it. You can see that in previous years they did. This year they didn't.
And the other two lines were moves from elsewhere in the budget into this. So
Correct.
it's just an accounting move.
A shift, yes.
Thank you. Page 184, Council President.
184?
And it's really, I guess, a question about 184 and 186 because I think they're interrelated. But on 184, there are significant expenditures in the last 3 years and then a significant decrease in the recommended amount for the coming year.
Right, and again, that's the portion that we used for the 5% down payment requirement on capital projects.
But when I look at the capital projects, it doesn't seem like there's that much less capital projects being done to justify that significant change.
That's correct. What we try to do is to maintain level debt service in years when debt may drop off and we haven't issued new debt. We may increase this line item, such as we did in 2017. We used it to fund road improvement projects, road paving projects, so that we wouldn't have to borrow or issue any new debt.
So the 200,000 is an actual representation of what is required for down payments for the bonding that would take place. The amount above that went directly to a project in lieu of bonding.
Yes.
And then page 186, how does it relate to this page?
Okay, so 186 is the existing debt service on projects that we've issued. If you look on 187, you can see the years that those serial bonds were issued, and the audit will show you when they come due. But that's the principal payment for 2019.
And then if we look at the bottom of 187, we can see the principal on that project funded through open space that we were talking about earlier.
Yes, exactly.
Which is less than is going to be raised this year from the open space tax.
Correct, because what is raised in the open space tax will also pay for old debt service.
So there's other debt service not represented on this sheet.
Correct. There's other debt service that is part of the Open Space Trust. This is the funding for, specific for Peterson Field.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a quick question on 125. And maybe, actually, John, maybe you might be able to help me out on this one. Sub-account 142.
What's the department?
Do we still have, I'm sorry, 125.
Recreation.
Yeah, do we still have that?
What
Page 125, line sub-account is 142.
142.
Education? No.
Page
142.
125?
Oh, 142.
No, $0. Zero. Jack, do you remember, is there inline hockey still? I can't remember.
Yeah, like, I mean, you guys played up at Telemark, but I haven't seen anybody there in quite some time.
Nothing was spent in 18. I'm not familiar with inline hockey.
I know it's up there. I couldn't tell you if anybody's using it.
Is it possible that the expenditures weren't recorded in time for the budget books?
Yeah,
like in
it's
the other
very
case?
possible. A lot of these clubs, with the new ordinance in place, they weren't getting their paperwork in, so
Bounced?
well, they're delayed if they're not going to get their paperwork in for reimbursement.
Didn't we pass an ordinance last year
Yes.
about their budgets and timely submittals?
Yes,
Yeah, they didn't, a lot of them haven't submitted it, they didn't get any money.
that's right. That's why it's zero.
They did not get any money.
So how do we then address, we don't know if they've submitted anything, but yet we have a line item in here.
I think they put it in again,
We budgeted for it, but I don't know.
budgeted for it, but yeah, the programs did not do it, didn't get anything, so that does go back into the reserve.
Correct,
Yeah,
if it's not,
correct.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That answers that.
But we think it's possible that they simply haven't put in their 18 as of the printing of this book?
It's possible, but again, like Mr. Sackett said, there's deadlines. If they
Yeah.
haven't reached the deadline and it's not going to,
Then they're not going to get it.
then it,
Got
right,
it.
that would be.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we know what the deadline is?
Yeah, it was the end of the year.
Yeah.
I met with Brian Coward, and, yeah, there was a few of the bigger appropriations, they all had filed the paperwork. It was some of the smaller ones, for example, cheerleading competition, and there was, I think basketball, I don't know if boys basketball put it in, there was definitely a few programs that hadn't put it in. Jack was there, I can't remember exactly offhand, but they didn't get anything.
Well, what I see here, though, is the only ones that are at zero are volleyball, tennis, fishing contest.
That one's cut out. Fishing contest is eliminated.
Okay, so I only saw two then that were actually not funded. Are there other ones here that are not funded?
Well, I think they printed this in October, so they probably didn't have all the information on here, because,
No, we printed this probably in
short.
January
Oh.
because it's through year end, but most likely if there's nothing spent, most likely they didn't turn their paperwork in.
So are there items here budgeted for programs that are not being funded because they missed the submission deadlines?
I think my question would be, are they still a program, or are they not being funded because they didn't meet the requirements of the ordinance? So if it was, let's say if inline hockey was choosing not to have a program anymore, do we still fund it? Or are they just delinquent on the requirement of the ordinance to provide us with their monies that they spent to be compliant with the ordinance that we passed last year? That's all. I just didn't know if they're not doing it anymore, or because,
So I think how it always worked was the programs would get the checks up front.
No. Prior?
No.
No.
So we reimburse, right?
We
So,
reimbursed.
so how did, if basketball didn't meet the ordinance, how did they get reimbursed?
I was just saying, I don't remember exactly who it was.
Well,
I can't remember.
I think I don't think anyone's been reimbursed yet. The recommendation for 19 is to budget lines for,
But there's expenditures here.
those are 18 expenditures.
I know, But if they didn't meet the ordinance in 18,
I don't know that I don't think it was in effect yet in 18. We passed
It
it,
wasn't?
we passed it in early 18, early to mid 18. I think it took effect for the first time.
It would happen now
This-
in
this year.
2019.
but we need to know which ones didn't meet it, because then we shouldn't budget for that.
That's what I was just asking. So my question is, are there lines here, but programs budgeted that aren't being funded because they didn't meet the deadlines? And it sounds like Councilman Sackett's saying yes, we just don't know which ones.
And who would know? Who would know?
Brian
Brian
Coward
Coward has a
went
report.
through all this, and that's why these figures are here, because he went through those line by line. So yeah, I'm sure they're,
So you recommended though like I said, inline hockey, but we have a 0 down for 2018. I mean, and nobody knows if they actually had a program.
Same for MCAA work.
Yeah.
They had 0 and they put it in.
Yeah.
I have to think they had a program.
139 and 143, 42.
Microphone.
I don't know, because they didn't submit for reimbursement.
139.
139 and 142, they expended no money in 18, but they put it in again for 19.
10, no. Oh, McGarp.
I mean, we shouldn't have to be guessing.
McGarp, that, yeah, I don't know what that is. Usually I get that.
I mean, we really shouldn't have to be guessing.
Yeah, I wish, these are kind of questions for Brian. I can't really answer on his behalf.
But as a result of the ordinance that was passed last year, and if we're basing funding, right, based on compliance, there should be some sort of supplemental report that comes out with the budget.
With budget.
Well, it comes to the recreation department, because he's responsible for the accounting of it.
Right, and then the council's responsible for authorizing funds.
No, I understand. I'm just saying that, when the purchase orders run through, they're running through the recreation department. Finance is just certifying that the funds are available, but and that the receipts are attached. But as
Right,
far
but-
as them meeting
yeah.
the requirements of the ordinance, that is
So,
handled in the recreation
so
department.
guys, question though, I don't know how the ordinance
Go
works
ahead.
100%, but like, so if they meet the requirements of the ordinance this year, they can get funded.
Right,
So maybe that's why he just budgeted for every program, hoping that they're all going to be in compliance.
That makes sense for October, right? But come January 1, he should be preparing a compliance report, right? That goes to the council and says, or at least goes to the CFO, right? To say, these items were presented at the October, November, administrative budget hearings, but these programs are not in compliance, these programs are, and should be budgeted accordingly.
I'm sorry.
Also, one thing that, by doing that, for example, football, who's getting 27,075, and they did all the paperwork and everything, then we could have taken a look, okay, maybe football needed 30, we're taking away inline hockey, but we can't do that without knowing.
We have no visibility
I'm not
to
looking
know.
to take it away, I just had a question for it, because I saw the 0.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
No, I think-
but this is where we'd be able to make some adjustments.
Right.
Football needed a little more, and inline hockey maybe needed a
We
little
would-
less,
we
I just don't know.
We would know that we have excess funds based on previous years that could be reapplied to other programs that did comply. And we're missing that visibility here.
Okay, let's go.
So, and there's no way for us to get that between now and Tuesday?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
Another page that you want to hit, Councilman? I'm trying to follow my notes too, from just being a little off here from what I had prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's texting me. Call me anyway. Call.
Page 18? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sorry, what was the page?
18.
8.
We were, line 053, sub-account.
Office equipment.
Yeah. As you see, various office supplies, including toner and cartridges.
Yeah, my understanding was that the copiers were being brought in because we had toner contracts. And that's why I think we're seeing reduced usage here. Because it looks like they're not buying toner from anywhere or from some line that we're not finding.
They are buying toner. I've witnessed them purchasing toner.
But it's coming out of
It's coming out.
right, it's coming from some other line somewhere else.
But it's toner for their printers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not for the copier.
No, that comes out of my budget.
The maintenance contract usually.
I mean, it shows that we had 2,700 and 2,900, and then we adopted 3,400, and we only spent 181,
Right.
16. Is that accurate?
It's probably accurate. It was just a low year because you can see the other 2 years were closer to 3.
Yeah.
Maybe computer equipment was a little higher this year than last year, than in years past, but because,
Which one,
you
Mrs.
could say toner could be computer equipment. if-
Yeah,
you
I
know,
have that
it could just
highlighted
be
too.
charged in the
Let's
other
get a-
line.
Using their microphones.
Microphone?
I just wrote a note, why is it this high? Because there's computer equipment are under other line items.
I was looking to reduce that, man, half of that 15,000 on 059. I mean, it looks like we made a big purchase in 16, but everything's kind of dropped down, and we only expended 7,000.
I know Mike Fisher is looking to put Edmunds on its own separate server this year. In fact, it may have already happened.
Why would he need Edmunds?
I'm not a computer expert, I don't know, but that was his idea was
Edmunds
to
is
put it
for
on its own.
purchasing,
Huh?
correct? Edmunds system is for purchasing?
It's for
And he was going to put it on its own server.
in the vehicle, yeah. So we haven't been presented any information about the administration's plans for IT, running servers and software. I think the ransomware attack that took place on Thanksgiving of last year is a pretty strong indicator that the township should not be in the business of running its own servers with software on it. There are cloud services out there that we can buy on a subscription basis
I think we have
and
that
not
with
be in that.
Barracuda, right? Isn't Barracuda as a cloud?
No, it runs on hardware we have here. All the items that are above, including email, right? We run our own email servers, which were part of that attack that took place on Thanksgiving. In fact, all of our equipment was, right?
So what do you want to do? You want to reduce 059?
Yes.
Because Mr. Fisher wouldn't have installed it without a budget now.
Yeah. So
No,
let's
he
reduce
can't.
that.
He
I mean,
can't
it's
install it
doubled,
Before we approve the budget.
right, it's doubled,
Yeah.
double of 2018, twice as much.
Was that something you were looking at too, Danny?
Yeah,
Like a computer.
Yeah, I mean, I had it highlighted here when we were going through it once before.
Yeah, they have to justify it.
yeah, agree.
So I was going to bring it just a little bit above of what we expended on in 2018. I was just going to bring it up to 7,500.
How much?
I was going to bring it to 7,500. So last year we spent 7,000. The year before was only $2,000.
Is there licensing fees involved in this also?
You know what?
It doesn't say that.
I know.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything in here about
Just
that.
says
That's-
costs associated township server and various equipment.
And it is a line for equipment, which is hardware, not licensing.
Okay.
Yeah, so, okay, what are we gonna do?
I make a motion to cut.
Computer fees are,
I'm sorry?
the fees I think Jack is talking about is covered under 28.
So it would be sub-account 059 and reducing that from 15,000 to 7,500.
Okay, I'll second it.
Any discussion on that?
No.
I mean, I think Manny hit it on the head.
Yeah.
Needs justification.
We can do the roll if you're ready.
Can I just clarify, it was 1,500,000 to 7,500?
Correct. It's always next year. He moved it, I seconded it.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Vice President Abraham.
Would be another option that you would think that would be,
I think both items should be on the ballot and let the people decide.
And
It's
I would
their
agree
money
with-
we're spending.
I would agree with that.
Me too. I do, I agree.
and if it could, putting it on the.
Let me ask a question. How do you designate a binding referendum, which the administration and council are bound by what the voters say, and the non-binding?
There's one statute that tells you how to do one, and there's another statute that tells you how to do the other. And you just follow the procedure for doing that.
What are we proposing here? For binding or
So,
non-binding?
I think the deadline for November is sometime in August for putting it on the ballot. So we don't have to have the details of that worked out tonight. But if it's in the budget, then our hands are tied because we've put it in the budget. So I think what we would need, if we want to exercise either of those options, we have to take this out of the budget before we introduce it on Tuesday.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
This is a capital plan. It doesn't become authorized until you issue a bond ordinance. So you can have it in the budget, in the capital plan. It doesn't obligate you to spend it. It's not until the ordinance is adopted that we would be able to spend any money. If you leave it in the budget now.
Somebody can create an ordinance and the majority of it,
Well, you create the ordinance. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
I create the
understand that.
ordinance, you vote on it.
but then you would still be bypassing the potential of having the voters then vote on it.
Well, you could just simply not pass the ordinance. I'm
Well,
just saying, for
that's-
now, if you wanted to get through tonight.
Well, that's not,
Council President, could I just ask another question to the CFO related to that?
no.
When we vote on the budget to introduce the budget on Tuesday, we're introducing the salary portion. We're introducing the operating portion. Are we also introducing the capital pages?
The capital is a component of the operating budget, but
Because
the
of the debt service?
The debt service is part of the operating budget, but the budget that you're introducing, I have the ordinance already, the resolution drafted. It doesn't, it introduces the operating budget, salary and wage, and the water department, salary and wage. There's no portion for capital. However, it is a component of the entire state budget that gets submitted to Trenton. But like I said, it's a 6-year capital plan. It is not obligating you or committing you to spend that money. The only way that you can spend that money is through an ordinance.
So if we left the capital portion, pages 214, 212, and beyond as is, and we decided, you know what, we want to build a municipal pool instead, and we can then pass ordinances to build a municipal pool instead of doing Parks Lake, instead of doing the Peterson Field upgrades.
Something to that degree, I would have you amend the capital plan, and yes, and that would just simply be done with a new ordinance for the pool.
But we would beyond Tuesday, we would retain the power as a governing body to exercise those options if we so chose.
Right, until an ordinance is adopted, you do have that option.
Okay.
Okay.
So what do you guys want to do?
I think if we're going to spend $500,000, we should let the people decide.
So you're making a motion?
To what? Put it on the,
To remove these items from this capital budget.
And put it
So
on
we
the ballot?
continue that conversation later to have the ballot, that putting it on the ballot.
but how do we get that money back to put back on the ballot? How do we, if we remove them from the budget, if we remove these from the budget so that we could put it on the ballot, how do we get the money
To pay for it.
to pay for the motion on the ballot?
Well, then we'd have to have another ordinance. We'd have to amend the capital budget again and include that.
Once it passed,
Once it
though.
passes, but by the time November rolls around, we're probably talking next year, not this year.
I think the CFO has told us that the capital portion here doesn't have any effect on taxes until a corresponding ordinance is enacted by the governing body that matches these items.
Yes, not only the ordinance, but the bonding, the debt service, that's when it affects you. Like, the plan could go in today, and we don't need to borrow for another 2 years, let's just say. That's not going to affect us until 2021.
And the debt service that's already budgeted here
Is
continues and will roll over to surplus.
the debt service will continue and roll?
You have debt
You mean when it
service.
drops off?
No. If you have debt service here to cover roughly an annual $2 million of borrowing, right?
If I
Give or
borrow
take.
2 million, yes. Mhm.
So there's debt service in the operating expenses to cover the roughly $2 million in the plan here for this year.
No, the debt service that's in the budget is to cover existing debt that has, these are bonds that we maybe went out for 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago.
Not the newly proposed.
Correct.
Because the old debt will roll off and the new debt will come on to take over it if staged that way.
Yes, and that's what we try to do, is stage it exactly that way.
But the items on pages 212 and forward, whatever they happen to say, is simply a plan
Correct.
and has no cost effect until ordinances are adopted that match those,
Until borrowing occurs.
which has to happen as a result of a bond ordinance.
Right, and which can't happen until an ordinance is passed.
Right.
So, yes.
So the rest of these sheets, we have time to figure out what we want to do with the capital and how to
Yes.
approach it.
Yes.
We don't have to figure that out tonight.
I don't think so. I mean, but again, my suggestion would be to leave it in there just to get through this, and then you can decide whether you want to put it on a referendum or not, or leave it the way it is and move forward. It's up to you.
So if it is in there and it goes for referendum, and the referendum is failed by the voters, then what?
Then it fails. I mean, we wouldn't do an ordinance until it passes, so nothing.
Okay.
And it would depend if the referendum was binding or non-binding.
And once again, my concern is, I'm not opposed to having a project this size being done that's approved by the ballot, by the voters of Rockaway. But with assurance that the money, they approve it, and that money is going to fix these Peterson.
Right.
Peterson.
Not to a bigger fund, right?
Right, we're gonna fix Peterson. If they wanna fix Peterson, then we fix Peterson. I don't want the money going somewhere else. We're gonna fix Peterson.
Agreed. Agreed.
I just want, well, man, yeah.
I think
Maybe that's just my
Yeah,
concern.
I think the point that's being made is that the money being raised as a result of any referendum is earmarked for the specific project, which the 2013 one appears to be that way, but it's possible ones prior to that were not. And I think Councilmember Palumbo wants to ensure that whatever we do it in a way that dedicates the funds to the specific project.
Hey, Manny, okay, but here's the thing, Manny, listen, I'm for getting it done, okay? And I'm for the people voting on it. But here's the bottom line. Me and Joe said the same thing. We were told that the fields were going to be fixed 11 years ago if we voted this in. I'm sorry? Ask Joe. I mean, we coached at the same time. You kids are the same age. Know that the fields were going to be fixed back then. And they never got fixed. That's what I'm concerned about. And we voted on it. I agree, because I'm even more adamant that fix them, but we voted on it. We thought our fields were going to be fixed back then.
Right.
They weren't.
So
That's why we're concerned.
Well, the politicians on the dais will have to be held accountable.
Well, that's what we're here for.
So-
Let's fix them.
Well, it's not either or. I mean, we the voters thought we voted to fix them.
Right.
And you don't have to take my word for it. Talk to Councilman Jackson.
I have to be back here in less than 8 hours.
Okay.
So what's the bottom line? Leave it in there, and then we decide down the road.
Well, I still believe that the voters should do it,
Me too.
but,
That
what we
doesn't
have,
get figured out tonight, that's what Jeremy was saying.
yeah, so what do we
My recommendation is we leave the capital sheet as is.
Okay.
since we have the ability to exercise control over that spending with ordinances. And we have time to have the conversation. And I think we should also request that whatever was done for that 2013 open space referendum be dug up for the council to
We
review.
can get more information about having it on the ballot too, to satisfy everybody here.
Now another question. Forget about the rec part. What about the other items in the capital?
We took them
For other-
off.
What?
We took them off.
Even for like the bus, the truck wash and everything else is gone?
No, we didn't touch any of that.
touch
We didn't vote any of it. We didn't do anything like that.
You're here
We
for
only make the
votes.
reductions, removing it or adding something.
Right, so,
If there's
But
nothing
that-
that we're modifying, then we don't do a vote on anything.
well, then isn't that the same thing? You're talking about something that's gotta be built for $100,000.
So they have a plan going on for X amount of years on it. You have $400,000 now with no ambition of when it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And other areas where John said, you know what, we could remove some of those things that are on there. So, I mean, Mr. Sackett's saying that, we're not entertaining it, but we wanna make sure because the voters do it. You know, you have some people that say that they want it. I've been getting the same and the opposite, you know?
If we're gonna do a referendum though, real quick, we gotta do it right.
Yeah,
We're not-
we agree.
We're not gonna, the referendum has to be for the whole shebang, not just the basketball court. I want if we're gonna do a
Jonathan,
referendum,
I agree with you
I
100%.
want
Yes.
the whole thing, the
Tennis courts,
everything.
I agree with you 100%.
100%.
Not just a little basketball court.
And
I want the
council
whole
members-
Jonathan, to reiterate, that's where the money's gotta go.
I want
Yes.
the whole thing.
Yes.
Okay.
$4
But
million,
we've been talking
I
about
want
that
the
though,
whole
John.
thing.
And if the voters approve it, but the money's gotta go to
Yeah,
where
the
we're
whole
saying.
thing, I
it's
don't
gonna
want
go.
just a piecemeal.
I agree.
That's what this
I
is, though.
agree.
That's what I'm just trying to say, we keep
All
talking
right,
about a
so we're on the
referendum,
same
just the
page then.
basketball
We're on
court.
the same
I-
page.
No, but no one mentioned the whole thing, I want the whole thing.
Yeah,
We
I've
have
been saying
been.
that for a year.
And Councilmember Sackett, remember, we've been asking, as long as you've been sitting here, for the plan for the whole thing.
Over a year.
And-
Over a year.
And don't forget Parks Lake.
Before you guys walk out, though, I
I'm
wanna.
just saying though, because now we kept talking about the referendum, no one said the whole thing, that's why I said the whole thing.
Yeah,
I want the
I'm
whole
with you.
thing.
Yeah, and the voters approve it, the whole thing, but it's gotta go to what we're saying it's going to.
It's
Yeah,
gotta be done
I agree.
professionally,
Whole
by
thing.
plans,
Because I don't want people
architecture.
voting on something and then, oh, what happened? We didn't get the tennis courts fixed. Well, I don't want that.
Right.
If they're voting on something, they expect it fixed,
Well, we're on
that's
a,
what we're doing.
at least we're agreeing on this to move forward with.
No, I want the whole thing, that's what
We
I was
need to
saying.
come
I don't want,
up-
because people kept talking about the basketball courts. No, I want the whole,
I
if
agree
we put
with
it
you.
out,
I
whole
agree.
thing, if it's 5 million,
But that's why
Put
we're
it out
talking
there.
about the piecework, John. It costs us more money doing a piecework.
no, I hear you,
Okay.
I hear you.
And Parks Lake.
Yeah, we've been saying this
We
for a
need to,
year.
hold on,
For a year.
open to the public. All right.
I need a motion.
I'm gonna make a motion to, adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All yays?
Yeah.
Yays, got 7 yays. Motion adjourned.
I'm 100% for that. I mean, for a whole year I've been saying.
Everybody knows, it just, it's been falling on deaf ears.
Give me
John,
a few hours.
Thank you.
I'll be late.
No, it's all right.
You have to agree.
Well, you know, we've been, come on, I mean, you were here. I just can't do this piecework shit, man.